No 1, item 1. Death does not exist, according to a new hypothesis proposed by the latest quantum science. That death does not exist, discussing death from the perspective of quantum science. Source: Guangwen Shi. Where do people go after they die? When the body disappears, will the soul also disappear, or will it return to another world? Or is there no so-called soul at all? Or is there a parallel time and space? Until now, science has denied the existence of the afterlife. Therefore, science has never intersected with religions that affirmed an afterlife. However, in recent years, cutting-edge quantum science has proposed an interesting new hypothesis that hints at the possibility of the existence of an afterlife. So what is this new hypothesis and what kind of scientific theory is it? If this new hypothesis is correct, then what is the world after death? What will happen to our consciousness in the afterlife? If this new hypothesis is correct, what implications does it have for those of us who currently live this way? The book puts forward the hypothesis of the so-called zero-point field. This hypothesis was what Einstein wanted to study during his lifetime but failed. In recent years, through continued research by some physicists, more discoveries have been made. Will we be able to reunite with our loved ones after death? Are memories of past lives and reincarnation totally superstitious? After reading what the author wants to convey in this book, you should be able to relieve some confusion and gain a new understanding of life. Preface to you who read this book. Chapter 1: Do you believe in the world after death? Chapter 2: The 3 limits facing modern science. Chapter 3: Mysterious events everyone experiences every day. Chapter 4: The unbelievable experience the author has experienced in his life. Chapter 5: Why do these mysterious events happen in life? Chapter 6: Why is our consciousness connected to the field? Chapter 7: The field hypothesis explains the mysterious phenomenon of consciousness. Chapter 8: What happens after death according to the field hypothesis? Chapter 9: Our self disappears in the field. Chapter 10: What will happen to our consciousness transferred to the field? Chapter 11: After death, our consciousness will expand infinitely. Chapter 12: When you wake up from the dream. Conclusion: in the 21st century, science and religion will be integrated into one. No 2, item 2. Tazaka Hiroshi. Source: Guangwen Shi. Hiroshi Tazaka. Professor at Tama University Graduate School. The principal of Tazaka Junior School. Graduated from Tokyo University in 1974. 1981 graduated from the Graduate School of the University of Tokyo, PhD in Engineering, Nuclear Engineering. In 1987, he served as a visiting researcher at the Battelle Memorial Institute, an American think tank. In 1990, he participated in planning the establishment of Japan General Research Institute. Served as director and other positions. In 2000, he became a professor at Tama University Research Institute. Now he is an honorary professor. In the same year, Sophia Bank, a think tank that promotes the transformation of the smart worldview in the 21st century, was established and appointed as its representative. In 2005, he was selected as a Japanese-American reformer by the Japan Cultural Association in the United States. In 2008, he became a member of the Global Agenda Council of the World Economic Forum, which hosted the Davos meeting. In 2010, he took office as the Japanese representative of the Budapest Club. In 2011, he served as a special advisor to the Cabinet Secretariat after the March 11 earthquake and the Fukushima nuclear disaster. In 2013, in order to grow into a change leader of the 21st century who vertically integrates the 7 intelligences of ideas, vision, ambition, strategy, tactics, technology, and human resources, Tazakajuku was opened as a place to learn the 7 techniques of growth. Now, 4,500 operators and leaders from all over Japan have gathered. Source: Tianxia Magazine. Professor at Tama University Graduate School. Tazaka is a mature student in private school. Born in 1951. 1974 graduated from the Faculty of Engineering, University of Tokyo. 1981 graduated from the Graduate School of the University of Tokyo, PhD in Engineering, Nuclear Engineering. In the same year, he entered private enterprise. In 1987, he served as a visiting researcher at the Battelle Memorial Institute, an American think tank. 1990 participated in planning the establishment of Japan General Research Institute. In 10 years, we have established 20 alliances in different industries with 702 companies. Participate in the creation of new industries led by the private sector by nurturing new enterprises and developing new businesses. In 2000, he became a professor at Tama University Research Institute. Teach social entrepreneurship. In the same year, Sophia Bank, a think tank that promotes the transformation of the smart worldview in the 21st century, was established and appointed as its representative. In 2005, he was selected as a Japanese-American reformer by the Japan Cultural Association in the United States. In 2008, he became a member of the Global Agenda Council of the World Economic Forum, which hosted the Davos meeting. In 2009, he became a TED member and attended TED conferences every year. In 2010, he served as the Japanese representative of the World Conference of Wise Men and the Budapest Club, where 4 Nobel Peace Prize winners including the Dalai Lama, Archbishop Tutu, Dr. Muhammad Yunus, and former President Gorbachev are honorary members. In 2011, he served as a special advisor to the Cabinet Secretariat after the March 11 earthquake and the Fukushima nuclear disaster. In 2013, in order to grow into a change leader of the 21st century who vertically integrates the 7 intelligences of ideas, vision, ambition, strategy, tactics, technology, and human resources, Tazaka Juku was opened as a place to learn the 7 techniques of growth. Now, 4,500 operators and leaders from all over Japan have gathered. His works include more than 80 volumes in Japan and abroad. He is also actively engaged in publishing and speaking activities abroad. No 3, ITEM 3. Pacific Northwest National Research Laboratory. Source: ChatGPT. The Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, PNNL, is a laboratory in the United States National Laboratory System, located in Richmond, Washington. PNNL is an important laboratory of the U.S. Department of Energy, focusing on scientific research and engineering development, covering multiple fields including energy, environment, national security, computational science, and other science and technology fields. PNNL's research covers many fields, including materials science, nuclear energy research, environmental science, computational science, biological science, data analysis, chemical engineering, national security and intelligent systems, etc. The laboratory's mission is to advance the frontiers of science and technology in support of the nation's energy needs, environmental protection, national security and other critical issues. PNNL collaborates with numerous domestic and foreign universities, government agencies, and industrial partners in various research projects to advance the development of science and technology and provide innovative solutions for the benefit of society, the economy and the country. Source: Wikipedia. Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, English, Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, referred to as PNNL, founded in 1965, is located in the desert area at the junction of the Columbia River and Yakima River in eastern Washington state, USA. It was used during the Manhattan Project of World War II. It was built on the basis of the Hanford site, which produced nuclear materials for the U.S. atomic bomb. PNNL's initial mission was to take over the legacy facilities of the Manhattan Project, nuclear waste processing and related research, and began to engage in the entire basic scientific research in the late 1980s. PNNL is part of the U.S. Department of Energy and currently has more than 4,000 scientists. Its advantageous research areas include energy, environment, computers, nuclear energy, radiochemistry, etc., especially basic molecular science and computer science. No 4, ITEM 4. Japan Nuclear Research Institute. Source: ChatGPT. Japan Atomic Energy Agency, JAEA, is a national research institution in Japan that specializes in nuclear energy research and scientific research in related fields. The institution's predecessor was the Japan Atomic Energy Research Institute, which was established in 1956. Later, it was renamed Japan Atomic Energy Agency in 2005. The mission of the Japan Nuclear Research Institute includes conducting work in the fields of nuclear energy scientific research, nuclear technology development, nuclear energy policy analysis, nuclear waste management, and nuclear safety. The agency's work covers multiple areas, including nuclear reactor technology, nuclear fuel recycling, nuclear waste processing and storage, radioisotope applications, nuclear safety and radiation protection, etc. Especially after the Fukushima nuclear accident, the Japan Nuclear Research Institute became a key institution involved in the formulation of nuclear energy policies and response to nuclear energy accidents. They also continue to conduct research work in the fields of nuclear safety and nuclear waste management to ensure the safe and sustainable development of nuclear energy in Japan. No 5, ITEM 5. World After Death. Source: ChatGPT. The world after death is a broad philosophical, religious, and cultural topic, and different cultures and religions have different beliefs and views. Here are some key ideas about the afterlife. Religious perspectives. Many religions teach beliefs about the afterlife. For example, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism believe in an afterlife, in which souls are judged after death and enter eternal heaven or hell. Buddhism teaches the belief in reincarnation, believing that life is an endless reincarnation and that souls will be reincarnated in different lives. Scientific perspective. From a scientific perspective, death is generally considered to be a part of the life process, where an organism ceases vital activities and vital signs. Science currently provides no direct evidence for the existence of other worlds or the existence of other life forms after death. However, this question remains one of the topics of scientific, philosophical, and religious discussion. Spiritual perspective. Some people believe that there is a spiritual or conscious plane separate from the physical world and believe that death is not the end of consciousness but rather a passage into another non-physical world or state. Cultural perspective. Different cultures and peoples have different traditions and myths that describe the world after death, such as the underworld in Greek mythology, the afterlife in Egyptian mythology, etc. It is important to note that belief in an afterlife is a matter of personal and cultural perspective, and there is no uniform scientific evidence to substantiate either view. People have various beliefs and views about the afterlife, and these beliefs are usually closely related to religion, philosophy, culture, and personal values. Source: Yahoo News. U.S. doctor studies 5,000 near-death experiences and says world after death without a doubt does exist. Whether there will be another form of life after death has always been a question of great curiosity to the public. Now a U.S. oncologist claims his research proves beyond a doubt that the afterlife does exist. Jeffrey Long, a radiation oncologist from Kentucky, became fascinated with near-death experiences, NDEs, during his residency and founded the NDE Research Foundation in 1998. In a new article for Insider, he defines a near-death experience as a conscious experience in which a person who is comatose or clinically dead, without a heartbeat, sees, hears, feels emotions, and interacts with other living beings. Long collected cases from those who reported near-death experiences and conducted scientific analysis of these accounts. Faced with overwhelming evidence, I began to believe that there was an afterlife. Although each near-death experience was different, Long noticed some consistent patterns. People report that their consciousness is separated from their body, often hovering above, allowing them to see and hear what is going on around them. As evidence, he cited the case of a woman who fell unconscious while riding a horse. As her horse galloped back to the barn, Her consciousness moved with the horse. Although her body was not there, she was able to accurately describe what happened next in the barn. Others speak of being transported to another world, claiming to have walked through tunnels, seen bright lights, been greeted by deceased relatives, and seen their lives flash before their eyes. Long acknowledges that these near-death experience reports have become cliché, but it's worth noting that some younger children who may not have been exposed to these stories have described similar experiences. He further said, "I've read brain studies and considered every possible scientific explanation for near-death experiences, and the problem is that none of them hold up." And Long isn't the only one conducting similar research. Dr. Bruce Grayson, Professor Emeritus of Psychiatry and Neurobehavioral Sciences at the University of Virginia, was inspired to begin research after a near-death experience. He agreed with Long that no two near-death experiences are exactly the same, but he also listed some familiar characteristics. Those who claim to have had out-of-body experiences report seeing bright lights, being reunited with dead relatives, and more. According to his research, near-death experiences are quite common. About 10 to 20% of people who are near death have reported similar experiences, accounting for about 5% of the total population. Dr. Grayson said in an interview with The Washington Post in 2021, "I think the overwhelming evidence shows that our bodies are not exactly what we are, and there seems to be something that continues to exist after the body dies." No 6, ITEM 6. Theological School believes in the world after death. Source: ChatGPT. Different theological schools may have differences in their beliefs and identification of the world after death. Here are the views of some of the major theological schools on this issue. Christian theology. Christian theology believes that the world after death includes heaven, hell, and purgatory. Heaven is considered the eternal abode of God and a place of eternal happiness for faithful believers. Hell is a place of eternal torment for those who reject God. Purgatory is a temporary place of cleansing and redemption for souls in need of purification. Islamic theology. Islam teaches Muslims a belief in the afterlife. According to Islamic belief, Muslims will be judged after death and enter Islam's version of the afterlife, which is heaven or hell. Heaven is described as an eternal paradise and hell as a place of eternal torment. Buddhist theology. Buddhist theology teaches the belief in reincarnation, believing that life is a continuous reincarnation, and the soul reincarnates in different lives until it reaches the state of liberation and nirvana. These are the views of some theological schools of different religions, and of course there may be many more variations in doctrine and views within each religion. In religion, the afterlife is often closely tied to beliefs, doctrines, and theological traditions, so there may be different views among different theological schools and denominations. These beliefs also provide guidance in religious teachings to help believers understand life, death, and the afterlife. No 7, ITEM 7. Scientologists believe in the world after death. Source: ChatGPT. Scientologists are usually based on scientific methods and rational thinking, and do not believe in the world after death or the afterlife, because the research objects of science are observable and measurable phenomena, rather than beliefs in religious or supernatural fields. Science provides no direct evidence of life after death or the afterlife. According to a scientific point of view, human consciousness and perception are usually closely related to brain activity, so when the brain stops activity, consciousness also ends. This is a general view in biology and neuroscience. Scientific research has been trying to understand the nature of consciousness, but there is currently no universally accepted theory that explains whether any form of consciousness or life exists after death. The scientific method requires testing hypotheses through repeatable experiments and observations, and the afterlife is often a realm beyond direct observation and measurement. As a result, science generally cannot provide conclusive evidence about the afterlife or life after death, and is more focused on explaining observable phenomena and processes in nature. It should be pointed out that although science cannot prove or deny the existence of the world after death, it can provide a rational method to explore the nature of the universe and life, and provide people with a better basis for understanding life and death. The afterlife is often a matter in the realms of philosophy, religion, and the supernatural, and is different from what is covered by the scientific method. Source: Renren Focus. 10 Scientific Explanations for the World After Death. What happens after death? That's one of the great problems of life. For thousands of years, humans have tried to solve this problem in a variety of ways. Questions about life and death have played an important role in philosophy and science, directly or indirectly. Unfortunately, there is no way to explain the world of life after death. Even after all this time, scientists are just beginning to fully understand the process of death itself. Some ancient metaphors liken the moment of death to a singular point in time, or to the final moment of life. However, life is a complex series of processes and events, and when it ends, death cannot be broken down into a single moment. From research surrounding consciousness to stories of near-death experiences, humans have explored these concepts for centuries. Recently, new breakthroughs in resuscitation science have shed light on what happens in the first few minutes after death. This research is important, but it cannot be proven that all results are objective facts. Much of what life after death means comes down to the life you picture. The biochemical process of life will eventually come to an end. Cells are broken down immediately after death. These are certain. But behaviors, traits, and looks are passed on through our descendants. Whether through genes or learned behavior, many people live on to some extent through their children after death. At present, science cannot explain the phenomenon of life after death, but there are 10 aspects that can be tried. 10 Death is not a big deal. The last beat of your heart or the last breath you take does not mean that you are about to die. For those who study science and those who contemplate their own mortality, death has always been a mysterious process. People are occasionally confused as to whether someone has died, proving that death is not a fleeting moment. Most people have heard stories of people who were pronounced dead and miraculously revived during their funerals. Despite all the advances in medicine and technology, people still make mistakes when it comes to deciding who dies and who lives. A 91-year-old Polish woman woke up in the morgue 11 hours after being declared dead, which scared some of the coroners to death. An undertaker noticed movement in the body bag. At that moment, the bag was opened and the poor woman was not only alive, but also quite healthy. In 2014, a similar situation occurred in Kenya. A young man has been pronounced dead after ingesting pesticides. Although doctors tried their best to save him, the man was eventually pronounced dead. But just 15 hours after being sent to the morgue, he woke up and frightened the staff at the side. Of course, some errors are due to human error. After all, coroners in the United States don't have to have a medical degree, and some special conditions and drugs can create convincing suspended animation. The phenomenon of mistaking a living person for a dead person is extremely rare in contemporary society. Because it's so rare, when it happens it makes headlines around the world. When they make this mistake, whether it's an elected official or a trained pharmacist, it sparks a discussion about the complexities of the dying process and how to determine true death. 9. When the heart stops beating, the brain stops functioning. Death is not an instantaneous process. Although people think of it as a simple process where the person stops getting oxygen for the brain to function, in reality it is much more complex than that. Death does not happen all at once. It lasts throughout the life of a living being. The final progression occurs within hours and doctors believe it is reversible. Scientists know very little about what happens when a person dies. This is partly because death itself is a complex issue, and partly because so few researchers are involved in discussing the topic. Many hard sciences such as chemistry have proven that there is only one objective reality and nothing subjective is considered a fact. Therefore, scientists stay away from the subject of the human afterlife, despite its inherent value. What scientists know is that the brain requires oxygen to function properly. It relies on the heart and cardiovascular system to absorb oxygen, filter it and deliver it to the brain. Once the heart stops beating, the brain dies quickly. In fact, after the heart stops beating, it only takes 20 to 30 seconds for the brain to cease all functions. Only when the heart beats again can the brain function again. 8. Some people are still conscious even if they are clinically confirmed dead. A recent study on resuscitation medicine looked at 360 patients who were revived after cardiac arrest. The 360 people were selected from 2,000 patients in hospitals in the United States, United Kingdom, and Austria. Only about 100 of these 360 people recovered enough to be interviewed. 40% of those interviewed said they still had some consciousness despite their hearts having stopped and their brains losing function. Of course, some scientists attribute this to post-traumatic stress disorder or other psychological factors. However, one particular example stands out. 1 in 360 patients could tell exactly what happened after his death. He told researchers that after he was diagnosed as medically dead, he could still hear a machine beeping. The beep sounded every 3 minutes, and he heard it twice. He could describe the events after his death in such precise detail that doctors believed his brain was still alive minutes after his heart stopped. Dr. Sam Parnia of the State University of New York at Stony Brook is the principal leader of this miraculous study. People's experiences are conflicting, Dr. Parnell said, but this opens up new possibilities in medicine. He believes that many more people are actually conscious after death. He believes that most patients forget that they are conscious after death due to trauma or the use of sedatives during resuscitation. 7 people may still have varying degrees of consciousness after death. In the same trial, Dr. Parnell noted that many of the 360 patients who participated in the trial recalled very different experiences after death. 39% of patients interviewed said they remained conscious after medical death but were unable to describe what happened to and around them during the process. About 46% of those surveyed said they had some memory of what happened near death, but these memories don't fit with what we know about near-death experiences. Only 9% of those surveyed had actually experienced the bright light commonly associated with near-death. Most patients remember feeling fearful and confused after death. But people experience it completely differently. Some people feel extremely happy, some say they are enveloped in a light, and some are convinced they have encountered a mythical situation or mythical creature. Only 13% felt as if their soul and body were separate. Different feedback from different patients in this trial shows that if there is life after death, or in this trial, we can say that the brain can still function after death, then this experience is completely different in different people. In recent years, the media has reported on many patients who were rescued from the brink of death. These patients said that their lives were unfolding before their eyes like a slideshow. Some people say they are drawn into a warm, bright light. These reports were dismissed blithely as hallucinations at best, and simply dismissed as lies at worst. But this study provides a scientific perspective on a phenomenon that people have been experiencing for years. 6. Consciousness cannot be scientifically proven. In at least 2,000 years of searching for human consciousness, unfortunately, no one has been able to find a definite answer to this question. The topic was first documented by the Greeks, and thinkers around the world have devoted years to studying the issue. Consciousness cannot be proven. People cannot even think about their own consciousness. The main problem so far with the understanding of consciousness is that people can't even think about it to find the answer. Philosophers, psychoanalysts, doctors, and learned men of all stripes strive to discover the nature of consciousness and understand how humans come to have it. Almost everyone agrees that we are conscious, but no one has been able to prove it. Therefore, it is impossible to prove or disprove Dr. Palna's research report. Did they make this up? Or is it a trick the brain plays to cover up trauma? We can't tell. As for those who can accurately describe the scene after death, it only proves that the issue of life and death needs further research. 5. If a person becomes conscious after death, it is still unknown how long the consciousness will last. Many people believe that our consciousness or soul continues to exist after death, sometimes in the form of demons and ghosts. Assuming that the brain can still function after death, the next question is, How long can the brain function after death? The answers to this question in different fields vary greatly, and are currently considered pseudoscience. Belief in ghosts is one of the most common paranormal beliefs. This belief is found across the globe, regardless of education and religious affiliation. People from all walks of life not only claim to have seen or felt the presence of the deceased, but also believe that this is the case. Of course, belief in ghosts has been co-opted by the media and Hollywood. However, the existence of souls of the dead is an old rumor that is unbelievable. If consciousness, whatever it is, persisted when the heart stopped beating and the brain stopped functioning, the idea of ghosts wouldn't be as far-fetched as it once was. 4. Rely on genes to survive. Thoughts about life after death are not limited to consciousness. Through genes, humans can maintain their characteristics and personality after death. Genetic science is the hardest part of biological science, but because scientists don't need honest subjects, it is easier to conduct experiments than psychiatry and neuroscience. Many people know that their physical characteristics and abilities are often passed on to their children through genes. Hair color, eye color, height, and weight are all passed on to children through genes. But it's not just the continuation of physical traits that relies on these genes. Some research suggests that the trauma you've experienced can also be passed on genetically. Recent research suggests that unspeakable trauma during World War II affected the genetic makeup of Holocaust survivors. Researchers at New York's Mount Sinai Hospital have published a new study. The study examined the genes of 32 Jewish men and women, some of whom experienced torture in concentration camps and some who went into hiding during World War II. If genes can indeed transmit trauma, this genetic process is called epigenetic inheritance. In other words, your lifestyle may affect your children's personality through genetics and may even be passed on to your grandchildren. Epigenetics is highly controversial within the scientific community, but it is studied in many fields. Girls born to Dutch women during the famine at the end of World War II had a higher than average risk of developing schizophrenia as adults, according to a study. Although the details are yet to be proven, the conclusion doesn't sound absurd. Survivor reports of the 1915 Armenian genocide reveal that not only did the survivors experience trauma, but that subsequent generations of their families endured the same horrors that their parents and grandparents experienced during the First World War genocide. 3. The debate between nature and nurture has not yet been resolved. The debate over genetic determinants of human behavioral patterns remains unresolved. Charles Darwin said that human behavior is the result of the process of evolution, which over time helped humans survive and adapt to new conditions. Because there was scientific evidence to support his claims, he became recognized as the father of debate about human nature. Psychiatry has continued to advance ever since. Sigmund Freud, a leading thinker of his time, believed that human behavior was a product of nurture. He famously argued that personality, character traits, and behavior are determined by the way parents treat their children. This debate has continued over the years, with both sides holding strong arguments, some of which can be scientifically verified. The importance of this debate is not about who is right or wrong. Instead, humans must note that there are patterns in behavior. Whether someone becomes an alcoholic due to the influence of an alcoholic parent or because a predisposition to alcoholism is in their genes, what scientists know is that behavior can continue through children and grandchildren. Whether a person has children of their own or adopts a child, some of their characteristics will be passed on to their children and will continue after their death. If you think you're a good drinker because you're Irish, and you think you have a loud voice because you're Italian, then you recognize that as a cultural norm that comes from nature or nurture, or a combination of the two. 2. There is no evidence that there is life after death. The scientific community is not yet ready to truly explore the phenomenon of life after death, and one of the biggest reasons is that there is no evidence for it yet. There is no proof of the existence of the soul, and there is no evidence of consciousness. According to the scientific method, there is no conclusive evidence and they feel that it cannot produce results, so many people are unwilling to get involved in this field. 1. There is no evidence that there is no life after death. But in the end, while there is no evidence that there is life after death, there is also no evidence that there is no life after death. This whole concept is a mysterious subject. There are so many psychological signs that there may be life after we die, but these signs are not real. People's strong desire to explore the life after death has a long history, and there are written records in the world. For thousands of years, people have been asking the same questions about the afterlife. Religion creates all kinds of possibilities. The Abrahamic monotheistic religions have only one viewpoint, while the pagan traditions have more than one. No matter how belief systems change, one thing is clear: this is a subject that everyone wants to know about. If consciousness exists, the drive to explore the mysteries of life and death may lead us to believe that it is possible to continue to exist after we die. Some psychologists say that this fear comes from people's fear of the unknown, but this is a superficial view. It can be assumed that these drives come from an idea somewhere in consciousness that there is life after death. Regardless, if it's not true, no one can prove it. In conclusion, people in every corner of the world have been fascinated by the afterlife for thousands of years. For the past few hundred years, scientists have dismissed the concept as a fantasy created solely to allow those who needed religious belief in an afterlife to find the meaning of life. But since the quantum revolution in science, the way science works has changed. Physicists learn from physics that not everything can be quantified. Some scientists believe that describable matter makes up only a small part of the universe, while dark matter makes up the rest, an idea that changes the way people view the scientific process. Although there is no clear research that can tell people about the existence of life after death, there have been some breakthrough results. Recent scientific research suggests that a person who is clinically dead may continue to have brain function. Genetic research has found that your experiences may be passed on to your children. If you adjust your understanding of death and life, science may provide you with an answer in the near future. Sometimes the only evidence you need is no evidence. No 8, ITEM 8. Near-death experiencers believe in the world after death. Source: ChatGPT. Near-death experience, NDE, refers to a series of special subjective experiences reported by some people in the context of life-threatening events, such as clinical death, or major trauma. These experiences often include out-of-body experiences, traveling through tunnels, interactions with light or mysterious beings, life reviews, emotional experiences, etc. While the exact causes and scientific explanations of near-death experiences remain controversial, they have sparked extensive research and discussion in psychology and the occult. Some people associate near-death experiences with the afterlife or the afterlife, arguing that these experiences may be evidence of entering another realm during the death process. However, the scientific community is wary of this idea because near-death experiences are typically subjective experiences rather than repeatable experiments. Scientists often seek more research to understand the physiological and psychological mechanisms of near-death experiences to determine whether these experiences have supernatural or afterlife implications. Some scientific theories to explain near-death experiences include brain chemical reactions, changes in brain function under hypoxic conditions, hallucinations, and the psychological mechanism of life review. Despite many studies and theories, the nature and meaning of near-death experiences remains a complex scientific mystery with no clear conclusions. Therefore, near-death experiences offer some interesting insights into the existence or non-existence of an afterlife, but no clear evidence. No 9, ITEM 9. Identification of consciousness. Source: ChatGPT. The nature and identification of consciousness is a complex philosophical and scientific question. While there is still debate about the exact nature of consciousness, there are a few different perspectives and theories that can help understand what it is. Physiological perspective. From a physiological perspective, consciousness is a product related to brain activity. Electrical signals and chemical processes between the brain's neurons are thought to be the biological basis for generating and supporting consciousness. This perspective focuses on research in biology and neuroscience, seeking to explore how the structure and function of the brain relate to the emergence and maintenance of consciousness. Neuroscience perspective. Neuroscience is devoted to the study of neuronal activity in the brain to understand the neural basis of consciousness. Some theories propose that consciousness is generated by activity patterns in the brain's neural networks, and that different feelings, emotions, and thinking states correspond to different neural patterns. Philosophical perspective. Philosophers have long debated the nature of consciousness. Some philosophical views consider consciousness to be a fundamental, indivisible spiritual entity called mind. Other perspectives emphasize a biological and physical perspective, viewing consciousness as a complex biological phenomenon distinct from other physiological processes in the body. Consciousness research. The interdisciplinary field of consciousness research spans fields such as neuroscience, psychology, philosophy, and cognitive science. It seeks to understand the emergence, evolution, and nature of consciousness. Research methods include brain imaging, consciousness content analysis, drug effects, etc. It is important to note that despite many studies and theories, the nature of consciousness remains a complex and unsolved question. Consciousness is a subjective, individual experience that is difficult to directly observe or measure through objective means. Therefore, the identification of consciousness remains a philosophical and scientific challenge, and in-depth research and discussion on this issue are still ongoing. Source: Wikipedia. The most basic understanding or interpretation of consciousness is an individual's perception or awareness of his or her internal and external existence. Although philosophers, theologians, linguists, and scientists have analyzed, defined, interpreted, and debated the concept of consciousness for thousands of years, the nature of consciousness remains puzzling, controversial, and the most important aspect of our lives. A familiar yet most mysterious aspect. Perhaps the only widely held concept on this topic is the intuition that it exists. People disagree about what exactly consciousness needs to be studied and explained. Sometimes consciousness is considered a synonym for mind, and sometimes it is considered an aspect of mind. In the past, consciousness was thought of as a person's inner life, a world made up of introspection, personal thoughts, imagination, and will. Today, the definition of consciousness often includes some kind of experience, cognition, feeling, or perception. It may be metacognition, self-awareness, etc., and may change over time. The diversity of consciousness research scope, perspectives, and conjectures also raises questions about whether we are asking the right questions about consciousness. Descriptions, definitions, or explanations of consciousness range from a simple waking state, the exploration of self and soul through introspection, a metaphorical flow of content, or a mental state, mental event, or spirit that arises in the brain process. Since Descartes and John Locke, Western philosophy has sought to understand consciousness and hoped to elucidate how an individual's consciousness fits into the larger picture of the world. Questions about consciousness remain a central concern of both analytic and continental philosophy, which led to the development of phenomenology and continental philosophy to the philosophy of mind. Consciousness is the focus of interdisciplinary research in cognitive science, including psychology, linguistics, anthropology, neuropsychology, and neuroscience. Chief among them is the biological and psychological processes involved in converting information into consciousness, i.e., exploring the neurological and psychological connections between consciousness. In medicine, a patient's consciousness is assessed through their state of arousal and responsiveness. Research has found a continuum of states of consciousness, ranging from heightened alertness and understanding, to disorientation, delirium, loss of meaningful communication, and loss of the ability to respond to painful stimuli. Practical research on consciousness focuses on assessing the presence of consciousness in critically ill, comatose, or anesthetized patients and exploring ways to treat impaired or confused consciousness. The level of consciousness can be determined by observing standard behaviors, using measures such as the Lascaux Coma Index. For centuries, the scientific community has avoided the topic of consciousness because the subjectivity of the phenomenon is difficult to reconcile with objective scientific experimental methods. In 1975, American psychologist George Mandler published a highly influential psychological article in which he distinguished between slow, serial, limited conscious processes and fast, parallel, and expanded unconscious processes. The 1984 annual meeting of the Science and Religion Forum had the theme From Artificial Intelligence to Human Consciousness and called for the nature of consciousness to be taken as a research object. British artificial intelligence scholar Donald Mickey was the keynote speaker at this meeting. People. Since the 1980s, some neuroscientists and psychologists have begun to participate in an emerging research field called consciousness research, which has resulted in many experimental studies. These studies are published in various books or academic journals, e.g., Consciousness and Cognition, Frontiers in Consciousness Research, Mind, Journal of Consciousness Research, and by multiple groups, e.g., Consciousness Scientific Research Society, Consciousness Research Society, regularly organize relevant meetings. Modern medicine and psychology often design some psychological experiments, such as using subliminal perception to explore the priming effect of perception, and explore the impact of trauma, disease, drugs, etc. on consciousness through case studies. Overall, the scientific study of consciousness is primarily based on two core concepts. One corresponds the content of consciousness to subjective experience reports from human subjects, and the other is based on observations and studies of behavioral disorders by neuroscientists and medical researchers. The ultimate goal of both concepts is to establish a method of assessing human or animal consciousness and thereby exploring the neural and psychological mechanisms of consciousness. Scholars still have different views on the evolutionary origins of consciousness and whether this evolutionary feature has survival value. Some believe consciousness is a byproduct of evolution. There are several theories about the evolutionary origin of consciousness. 1. Consciousness first appeared in the earliest humans. 2. Consciousness first appeared in the first mammals. 3. Consciousness evolved independently in mammals and birds. 4. Consciousness first appeared among the first reptiles. Some scholars also place the emergence of consciousness in the emergence of early animal nervous systems or the emergence of vertebrates, which was about 500 million years ago in the Cambrian period. In his work Animal Minds, Donald Griffin proposed the gradual evolution of consciousness. All of the above claims about the origins of consciousness are accompanied by discussions of the existential value that consciousness might bring. British biologist Thomas Henry Huxley once put forward the epiphenomenalist view of consciousness in his paper on the hypothesis that animals are automata, and its history. He believed that consciousness is only neural, the byproduct of the activity. It is like the whistle of a train's steam engine when it is working. It will not have any impact on other mechanical parts. American philosopher William James wrote the article Are We Automata? Are We Automata? Opposed Huxley's view. He put forward an evolutionary argument for the mind-body relationship, arguing that if the maintenance and development of consciousness are the result of natural selection, then consciousness may not only be affected by neural processes, but itself it has survival value. Philosopher Karl Popper made a similar point in The Self and Its Brain. The latest view on the main function of conscious processing is that phenomenal consciousness is the integration of originally separate neural activities and information processing processes, which is called integration consensus. Another dynamic core hypothesis proposed by Gerald Edelman points out that the interconnections between different brain regions in a massively parallel manner form the core of dynamic changes. Edelman particularly emphasizes the important role of higher-level consciousness in human evolution, which is different from the basic consciousness shared by humans and other non-human animals, thus showing how humans are different from other animals. The integrative function of consciousness provides answers to two traditional problems: differentiation and integration. With consciousness, humans are able to distinguish countless scenes and details acquired from the senses, and at the same time, through consciousness, these independent information are merged into a whole, allowing the experience to be perceived as a whole. However, we do not yet know which types of information require awareness to be integrated and which information can be integrated without awareness. In addition, the specific mechanism of consciousness in the integration process is not fully understood. Because obviously, not all information requires consciousness to be transmitted, such as neural activity related to persistent vegetative states, reflexes, unconsciousness, and low-level perceptual analysis. And many types of information can be transmitted unconsciously and combined with other information, such as intersensory interaction phenomena such as ventriloquism. Therefore, it remains unclear why conscious involvement is required in the integration of specific information. Moreover, even among scholars who are convinced that consciousness is well defined, there is still much debate about which animals besides humans are conscious. Edelman makes clear that humans and other animals possess rudimentary consciousness, making it more difficult to determine the timing and nature of consciousness evolution. Some scientists believe consciousness is an adaptive trait. John Ecclesiastes proposed in his paper The Evolution of Consciousness that consciousness originated from the anatomical structure and physiological characteristics of the mammalian cerebral cortex. Peter Carruthers further points out the potential survival advantages of consciousness, through which an individual can distinguish between the appearance of the external world and its reality, thereby avoiding being deceived by the senses, for example, realizing that the water ahead may be just an illusion, or by observing the behavioral characteristics of other individuals, they make cooperative or deceptive actions that are in their own interests. However, some philosophers have suggested that consciousness may not provide functional advantages to the evolutionary process. They used the example of philosophical zombies to demonstrate their point, pointing out that if two individuals behave the same way, then having consciousness or not does not bring any advantage to evolution. Therefore, it has been suggested that consciousness is not the result of evolution, but a byproduct of other evolutionary functions, such as increased brain size or cerebral cortex reorganization. They liken consciousness to a blind spot on the retina, which is not an evolutionary adaptation of the retina but simply a phenomenon caused by the specific arrangement of axons. Scholars such as Steven Pinker, Chomsky, Edelman, and Salvador Luria believe that the emergence of human language helps regulate memory and academic abilities, and contributes to the development of advanced consciousness. No 10, ITEM 10. Unscientific definition. Source: ChatGPT. Unscientific is usually used to describe those ideas, theories, assumptions, or methods that do not conform to scientific methods and scientific principles. Characteristics of science include theories based on observation, experimental evidence, and verification, as well as testing and revision through logical and empirical reasoning. Therefore, unscientific opinions usually refer to one of the following situations. Lack of experimental evidence. Unscientific ideas often lack the experimental evidence required by science to be observed, measured, and verified. Not in compliance with the scientific method, unscientific ideas may not have been systematically researched or tested by the scientific method, or may not follow the basic principles of the scientific method. Supernatural or occult views. Unscientific views may involve supernatural, mystical, superstitious, or unverifiable beliefs that cannot be verified scientifically. Logical inconsistencies. Unscientific ideas may involve logical inconsistencies or arguments that violate basic scientific principles. Omission or misunderstanding of scientific knowledge. Unscientific opinions may be based on outdated, incorrect, or misunderstood scientific knowledge, or they may choose to ignore existing scientific evidence. It is important to note that science is a systematic approach that seeks verifiable truth through observation, experimental evidence, and rigorous reasoning. Unscientific ideas are not necessarily wrong, but they often cannot be verified and substantiated within a scientific framework, and therefore are often considered unscientific in the scientific community. The scientific community emphasizes reason and evidence in order to avoid superstition and misdirection in understanding and explaining the natural world. No 11, ITEM 11. Miraculous phenomena in the quantum world. Source: ChatGPT. Quantum physics is an incredibly magical and confusing field of science that includes some mind-boggling phenomena and phenomena. Here are some amazing phenomena in the quantum world. Wave-particle duality. In quantum physics, particles, such as electrons or photons, exhibit both particle and wave properties. This is the famous wave-particle duality. Experiments show that particles can propagate in a discrete manner like particles, or they can propagate like waves, producing phenomena such as interference and diffraction. Entanglement. Quantum entanglement is a magical phenomenon in which two or more particles can have a strange correlation between them, even if they are separated by great distances. Changing the state of one particle instantly affects other particles entangled with it, and this effect is called non-locality. Schrödinger's cat. Schrödinger's cat is a famous quantum thought experiment that describes the concept of a cat in a superposition, both dead and alive, until someone observes it. This experiment highlights strange properties in quantum systems, including uncertainty and superposition of quantum states. Uncertainty principle. According to the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, the more accurately the position of a particle is measured, the less accurately the momentum is measured, and vice versa. This means that in the quantum world, the position and momentum of a particle cannot be accurately determined simultaneously, giving rise to the concept of uncertainty. Quantum tunneling. Quantum tunneling allows particles to cross energy barriers in ways that classical physics does not allow. This is a behavior of quantum particles at a microscopic scale and is widely used in fields such as semiconductor devices and quantum computing. Quantum superconductivity. At extremely low temperatures, certain substances can exhibit superconductivity, allowing electric current to flow within them without resistance. This phenomenon has huge potential for scientific and engineering applications, such as creating superconducting magnetic resonance imaging devices. These are some of the surprising and magical phenomena in quantum physics that challenge our intuitions and highlight the non-classical nature of the quantum world. These phenomena have triggered extensive discussions and research in the fields of science, technology, and philosophy. Source: Daily Headlines. 4 magical phenomena in the quantum world, proof of idealism? At the end of the 19th century, the British physicist Kelvin called 2 experiments that could not be explained by classical physics, the Michelson-Morley experiment and the black body radiation experiment, 2 dark clouds in the clear sky of physics. These 2 dark clouds directly led to the birth of the 2 pillars of modern physics. The theory of relativity and quantum mechanics are the 2 pillars of modern physics. The universe they describe has far exceeded people's common sense. Among them, quantum mechanics is even more difficult for its inventors to grasp correctly. Below, the editor will introduce 4 magical phenomena of the microscopic world described by quantum mechanics. See how much you can understand. 1. Wave-particle duality. When explaining blackbody radiation, Planck assumed that the energy radiated by the blackbody is transmitted in parts. He believed that the energy radiated by the blackbody has the smallest unit. He proposed the concept of quantum, which was the beginning of quantum mechanics. When Einstein explained the photoelectric effect, he extended the concept of quantum to light and proposed that light has both wave characteristics and particle characteristics, that is, wave-particle duality. Later, de Broglie proposed that physical particles, such as electrons and neutrons, also have wave-particle duality, which changed people's understanding of microscopic particles. Nowadays, quantum mechanics believes that the materials that make up the world, such as neutrons, protons, electrons, etc., all have wave-particle duality. In other words, characteristics like sound waves that can spread to the entire space at the same time, and characteristics like tennis balls that can only exist at a certain location, exist in particles at the same time, and will show different characteristics depending on the experimental method. 2. Wave function collapse. Matter has wave-particle duality. Physicists believe that matter behaves like waves when not observed, and particles when observed. According to the Copenhagen interpretation, the orthodox interpretation of quantum mechanics, matter will fill the entire space in the form of a wave function when it is not observed. When trying to observe matter, this act of observation causes the wave function to instantly collapse into a particle that appears at one location in space. Such a strange statement has also aroused people's doubts. Is this statement suspected of idealism? The moon is also composed of microscopic particles, so when no one is looking at the moon fills the entire universe in the form of waves? When looking at the moon, does it immediately collapse into a definite position in the sky? In this view, it seems that our consciousness determines the state of things. 3. Uncertainty principle. The uncertainty principle says that the position and momentum of a particle cannot be measured accurately at the same time. The more accurately a particle's position is measured, the greater the error in measuring its momentum, and vice versa. In the past, the uncertainty principle was translated as the uncertainty principle. The term uncertainty seemed to imply that the uncertainty was due to insufficient technology. But later people realized that the uncertainty was because the microscopic particles themselves did not have a definite position and momentum. If you think of a microscopic particle as a small ball, like a tennis ball, it is not difficult to understand that it has an accurate position and momentum, but it cannot be measured accurately. This is also Einstein's point of view. And if you accept the first point of wave-particle duality and the second point of observation to collapse the wave function, you will understand that before the observation, there is no particle at all, so there is no position and momentum of the particle. This is the wave-ER's point of view. Einstein and Bohr had a lengthy debate over whether particles were unmeasured or impossible to measure. The current view in the physics community leans towards Bohr's side. It is the act of observation that causes matter to appear in the form of particles before our eyes. The position and momentum of particles seem to have some kind of conservation of accuracy. The more accurate a certain value is measured, the less accurate the other value will be. 4. Quantum entanglement. Although Einstein was also the founder of quantum mechanics, his concepts still stayed in the classical framework and he was never able to accept the strange characteristics of the quantum world. Quantum entanglement is a thought experiment proposed by Einstein to attack quantum mechanics. Two particles that are coupled by some mechanism move away from each other in opposite directions when separated. According to the description of quantum mechanics, no matter how far apart they are, even light years, their interconnection still exists. When one of the particles is observed, the state of the particle will be changed, and the other particle will immediately respond and make corresponding state changes. This instantaneous response was ridiculed by Einstein as ghostly action at a distance because the connection between them is faster than the speed of light, violating the limit of the upper limit of the speed of information propagation is the speed of light in the theory of relativity. Decades after Einstein's death, scientists conducted experiments to confirm the existence of this ghostly action at a distance. Although this effect cannot be used to transmit information and strictly speaking does not violate the theory of relativity, their connection is indeed instantaneous. I wonder what Einstein would have thought if he were still alive. Note 12, ITEM 1-2. The zero-point field of existence of spiritual ideology. Source, TND sect. The zero-point field exists in the universe, and the wonderful transformation of Qi has its own origin. Liu Tongmin, Zhenqi, Chair Professor of the Department of Power Mechanical Engineering at Tsinghua University, who served as the moderator of Professor Wang Zhangjiahu's lecture from the Department of Philosophy of Peking University, responded from the perspective of science and religion and pointed out that scientists' discovery of the zero-point energy field is consistent with the Tao proposed by Laozi. And the Qi that the Chinese talk about, have striking similarities. Professor Liu Zhenqi said that the book Healing Field reveals with various evidences that the quantum energy field or zero-point field exists in the universe. This energy field connects all parts of the universe and is sufficient to explain many mysterious phenomena, such as alternative medicine, spiritual healing, extrasensory perception, collective subconsciousness, etc. It is the energy present in all subatomic particles, invisible to the human eye. Time, the quantum field generated by constant movement. The existence of the quantum energy field means that due to the constant exchange of quantum energy, all matter in the universe is fully connected at the subatomic level. Note, according to New Realm, the vast void of the universe is filled with electrons and electrons. Electron sums are the final components of matter in the universe. In other words, the universe is fully connected at the level of electrons and sums. In addition, there is also evidence that at the most basic level, everyone is a pulsating energy packet, constantly interacting with the vast energy ocean of the quantum energy field. Consciousness is a kind of energy that has the ability to change material events, especially directed thoughts that can affect machines, cells, and even complex multicellular organisms like humans. This ability to control things with the mind over matter, through the medium of the quantum energy ocean, can even transcend the limitations of time and space. The so-called vacuum area, as the name suggests, means that this area is really empty. However, humans usually regard invisible as nothing. Note, the limit of human vision is about 0.1 mm in diameter. However, from the subatomic level, less than 0.1 nanometers, all the vast space the area is filled with quantum sea. In the quantum sea, all subatomic particles are in motion and constantly interacting. Subatomic particles are constantly appearing and disappearing in an instant. According to Einstein's mass-energy exchange equation, all basic particles interact with each other and exchange energy with other particles. It is believed that these particles are created out of nothing, combine with each other in an instant, and destroy each other suddenly. In this way random energy fluctuations are generated for no reason. Such particles that come and go in an instant are called virtual particles, and they are different from real particles. Virtual particles only exist in the exchange phase, which is the uncertainty period described by the uncertainty principle. In addition, physicists also use vacuum to refer to the quantum zero-point field. The reason why it is called zero is because the fluctuation phenomenon in the field can still be detected when the temperature is absolute zero, and absolute zero is the lowest possible state of energy. Because zero-point energy is the lowest energy a system can hold, this energy cannot be removed from the system. In quantum field theory, this term is synonymous with vacuum energy, which refers to an empty space where a certain amount of energy still exists. Vacuum is not empty. It can cause disturbances in some systems and lead to some phenomena in quantum electrodynamics, such as Lamb shift and Casimir effect. Its effects can be directly observed in nanometer-scale components. The quantum vacuum zero-point field fills the entire universe, and can spread information from any area and time in the universe to all areas of the universe without any hindrance, and memorize it all in a holographic manner. However, although this zero-point field is rich in energy, humans can currently only observe the effects of this energy and utilize its functions, but cannot utilize the energy itself. The information transmitted by the quantum vacuum zero-point field is transient, that is, the transmission rate is almost infinite, and there is almost no loss or distortion during the transmission process. In other words, the zero-point field can spread the events that occur in a certain time and space in the universe to every corner of the universe in a holographic manner, and store it permanently. Avant-garde scientists believe that this field is the fifth force field in the universe in addition to the gravitational field, weak nuclear force field, electromagnetic force field and strong nuclear force field. It needs to be verified by scientists with precise experiments. The above-mentioned avant-garde research and discussion of the quantum vacuum zero-point field, cosmic holographic field, reminds some scientists, religious experts, and philosophers of the Tao proposed by Laozi's Tao Te Ching, as well as spiritual practitioners and Qi therapy practitioners. The Qi discussed are all strikingly similar, and their ultimate connection is worthy of subsequent discussion. Qi and Qi can interact with the consciousness messages of spirits and children in different dimensional spaces. Baidu Zhengxiang Zhenjing Xiantian Dalao Yuan Jun said, it forms an image in the sky and leaves a shape on the earth. It is used to complement the earth and heaven. It is used to introduce people and gods. It is called Qi. The work of the invisible medium, including a major event, such as global politics, economy, military, natural disasters, man-made disasters, will successively reveal new celestial opportunities in the human world through the medium of Qi, such as bad weather, tribulations, and Qi groups, and they leave their form in the human world, that is, they actually happen in the human world. What is Qi? Qi is the subtle substance that makes up heaven, earth, people, and things. The essence of life is the unity of Qi and mind and matter. Holy Edict of the Inanimate Virgin. One painting can determine the universe, and the three elements can be divided into whether it is peaceful or not. When nature creates nature in an instant, all phenomena in the universe, heaven, earth, and humans, spirits and suns, the positioning of the three elements is also formed in an instant. After formation, through the interaction of mind and matter, the vivid evolution of the life of the universe is born. The spirit and the heart of the child are in a harmonious state with things, and natural biochemical transformation continues the life of the universe and spiritual life, and is in harmony with the life of the universe. In response to each other, Qi and Qi freely flow in and out between Hezi and the universe, intertwining into the wonderful transformation of life in the universe. Chapter 5 of the Tao Te Ching, Between Heaven and Earth, it is like a bellows. It is empty and unyielding, bending, endless, moving and getting better and better. Isn't it described in this way? The Qi in the small universe of the human body circulates throughout the body in the form of yang heat flow. People who have the habit of sitting quietly should be able to feel its existence. In the spiral system, solar system, of the great universe, each planet and the Qi on its periphery revolve around the center of the universe as the spiral system rotates. The periphery of every planet is also surrounded by the silent and boundless, relative coordinates, cosmic air flow, such as solar wind or plasma flow, and also contains the breath of individual life from different levels. Confucius also said when discussing Xi, Qi is empty and treats things as empty. Only Tao gathers emptiness. Lao Tzu said again in chapter 21 of Tao Te Ching, Tao is the thing, Yao it is dark, but there is essence in it. The essence is so true, and there is faith in it. In New Religious Philosophical Thought System, the old man Han Jing defined the Jing in the third grade of medicine in the human body as its composition is non-white, non-green, half yin and half yang, and it is the yin and yang electrons. The essence of yin. Among the elements of physical electrons, there is the Z element that degenerates from the X element of the spirit and the sun. The Z element is a special element that can interact with the spirit and the sun, and has the ability of consciousness and memory, so there is faith, consciousness message, in essence and energy. From the spiral system to which the earth belongs, approaching the center of the universe, the distribution of Qi gradually rises from the posterior celestial level to the innate celestial level. With the level of cultivation, the energy of Qi gradually improves its ontological characteristics and becomes more complete, and its cosmic consciousness information becomes more and more diverse. Xian Qi is called Qi. Qi can interact with the consciousness information of the spirit and child in each dimensional space. Posterior weather is called Qi, and Qi can interact with the spirit and child in lower dimensional space, the interaction of conscious information. Among them, Xingling and Zi, in addition to having energy, are also symbols of spiritual consciousness. The X element of Xingling and Zi contains Qi energy, so they are used to intervene in human gods. It is called Qi. No 13, ITEM 13. 0-point field. Source, ChatGPT. Zero-point field refers to zero-point energy, which is a concept in the field of quantum physics. Zero-point energy refers to the energy that still exists at a temperature of absolute zero, minus 273.15 degrees Celsius or 0 Kelvin. This concept originates from the principle of quantum mechanics, that is, in the lowest energy state, there is still particle motion and energy fluctuations. The concept of zero-point energy originated from Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, which states that the position and momentum of a particle cannot be determined simultaneously even at zero absolute temperature. This means that particles still have motion and energy fluctuations, even at very low temperatures. This phenomenon has important applications in quantum physics and quantum field theory. The existence of zero-point energy is very important for some quantum physics phenomena and technologies, such as Casimir effect. The Casimir effect is a weak attraction between two non-conducting parallel metal plates due to the existence of zero-point energy. This effect has been verified experimentally and is a prediction of quantum mechanics. Energy level structure. Zero-point energy affects the energy level structure of atoms and molecules, which is of great significance to research in fields such as chemistry and spectroscopy. Vacuum fluctuations. Zero-point energy is also related to vacuum fluctuations, which are electromagnetic field and particle fluctuations that exist in the void. These vacuum fluctuations play a key role in quantum electrodynamics. It should be emphasized that zero-point energy is a weak form of energy that usually only significantly affects physical phenomena at microscopic scales. Although it is a fundamental concept in quantum physics, its applications in the macroscopic world are often limited. Zero-point energy plays an important role in scientific research, but it is somewhat different from traditional life experience and energy concepts. No 14, ITEM 14. Quantum vacuum state. Source: ChatGPT. Quantum vacuum refers to the void state in quantum field theory, which is different from emptiness in classical physics. In quantum field theory, the void state is not a completely empty state, but a state that contains a series of quantum fluctuations and zero-point energy. Here are some key points about quantum vacuum. Zero-point energy. There is zero-point energy in the quantum vacuum, that is, when the temperature is absolute zero, there are still fluctuations of particles and energy in the void. These zero-point fluctuations include electromagnetic waves, particle fluctuations, etc. Zero-point energy is an important concept in quantum field theory, which leads to a series of quantum effects, such as the Casimir effect and the Lamb-Magnus effect. Vacuum field. The void is not a vacuum, but contains various fields, such as electromagnetic field, quark field, lepton field, etc. Quantum fluctuations in these fields form excited states of particles in the void. Energy level structure. The void state in quantum vacuum has an impact on the energy level structure and material properties of particles. It can explain the spectral structure of atoms and molecules, as well as other quantum effects. Fluctuation. Quantum vacuum also exhibits a fluctuation phenomenon, that is, the fluctuation of particles in the void causes uncertainty in some measurement results. This plays an important role in measurements and observations. Quantum vacuum is a fundamental concept in quantum field theory, which plays a key role in explaining the behavior and interactions of matter in the microscopic world. Although it is different from the perspective of classical physics, it has been verified in experiments and is very important for understanding microscopic phenomena and interactions in nature. Source: Wikipedia. In quantum field theory, the quantum vacuum state is the quantum state with the lowest energy. Typically, it does not contain physical particles. Zero-point field is sometimes used as a synonym for the vacuum state of a single quantized field. According to current understanding of the vacuum state, or quantum vacuum, it is by no means a simple empty space. According to quantum mechanics, the vacuum state is not really empty, but contains electromagnetic waves and particles that exist instantaneously. The QED vacuum of quantum electrodynamics, QED, is the first vacuum of quantum field theory. QED originated in the 1930s and was redefined in the late 1940s and early 1950s by Feynman, Tomonaga, and Schwinger, who jointly won the Nobel Prize in 1965. Today, electromagnetic and weak interactions are unified in the theory of electroweak interactions. The Standard Model is a generalization of the work of quantum electrodynamics and includes all known elementary particles and their interactions, except gravity. Quantum chromodynamics is the part of the Standard Model that deals with strong interactions, and the QCD vacuum is the vacuum of quantum chromodynamics. It is the subject of research at the Large Hadron Collider and the Relativistic Heavy Ion Collider, and is related to strongly interacting vacuum structures. No 15, ITEM 15. Zero-point energy. Source: ChatGPT. Zero-point energy refers to the lowest possible energy state that still exists at a temperature of absolute zero, 0 Kelvin or minus 273.15 degrees Celsius. This concept comes from quantum mechanics. According to the principles of quantum mechanics, particles still have motion and energy fluctuations at zero absolute temperature. Therefore, zero-point energy is a phenomenon based on quantum mechanics, which leads to the concept of energy fluctuations in the void. Here are some key points about zero-point energy. Quantum fluctuations. According to Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, the position and momentum of a particle cannot be completely determined at the same time. Even at zero absolute temperature, a particle's momentum and position cannot be completely stationary, so there is a zero-point energy that corresponds to this quantum fluctuation. Energy in the void. Zero-point energy is considered the energy in the void, which exists at every point in space. This energy fluctuation includes electromagnetic waves, particle fluctuations, etc. Although zero-point energy is weak, it has important effects on quantum physics and macroscopic scales. Casimir effect. The Casimir effect is an experimental phenomenon related to zero-point energy. It describes the weak attraction between two non-conductive parallel metal plates due to the existence of zero-point energy. This effect has been verified experimentally and is a direct experimental evidence of zero-point energy. Vacuum energy. Zero-point energy is also called vacuum energy because it exists in the void, even when no matter exists. This concept has broad applications in quantum field theory. Although zero-point energy is a weak form of energy that is typically difficult to observe at macroscopic scales, it has important implications in quantum physics and some areas of science and technology. The existence and properties of zero-point energy have triggered extensive research and discussion in theoretical physics and experimental physics. Source: Wikipedia. Zero-point energy can be referred to as zero-point energy in physics is the lowest energy that a physical system described by quantum mechanics will have. The state of the system at this time is called the ground state. All quantum mechanical systems have zero-point energy. This term originated from the consideration that when the quantum resonator is in the ground state, the quantum number is zero. In quantum field theory, this term is synonymous with vacuum energy, which means that there is still a certain amount of energy in empty space, which can cause disturbances to some systems and lead to some phenomena that occur in quantum electrodynamics, such as blue-ham shift and Casimir effect. Its effect can be directly observed in nanometer-scale components. In cosmology, vacuum energy is seen as the source of the cosmological constant and is related to dark energy, which is responsible for the accelerating expansion of the universe. Because zero-point energy is the lowest energy a system can possess, this energy cannot be removed from the system. Nonetheless, the concept of zero-point energy and the possibility of extracting free energy from vacuum have attracted the attention of amateur inventors. Many proposals such as perpetual motion machines or free energy devices have used this concept to explain, but due to the lack of drawing energy from a lower or the same energy state violates the second law of thermodynamics and causes a decrease in entropy. The use of zero-point energy is considered impossible by the scientific community. This craze and the accompanying interesting theoretical interpretations have contributed to the growth of the concept of zero-point energy in popular culture, often appearing in science fiction books, games, movies, etc. No 16, ITEM 16. Casimir effect. Source: ChatGPT. The Casimir effect is a quantum mechanical effect that describes the tiny attraction between two parallel metal plates due to the presence of zero-point energy, or vacuum energy. This effect was first proposed by Dutch physicist Hendrik Casimir in 1948, hence the name Casimir effect. The main points of the Casimir effect are as follows. Zero-point energy. According to quantum mechanics, the void is not a vacuum, but contains various quantum fluctuations and zero-point energy, which is the lowest possible energy state that still exists at absolute zero. These fluctuations include electromagnetic waves, particle fluctuations, etc. Attraction: there is a slight attraction between two non-conductive, parallel, and non-adsorbent metal plates due to the existence of zero-point energy. This is because there are more wave states in the void between the two plates and less outside the plates, resulting in an imbalance of pressure between the two plates and an attraction. Experimental evidence: the Casimir effect has been verified experimentally. The experiment usually involves placing two metal plates very close together and observing the attraction between them. Applications: although the attraction produced by the Casimir effect is very small, it has potential applications in areas such as microelectronics and nanotechnology. For example, it can be used in the design of micromechanical systems, MEMS, and nanomechanical devices. The Casimir effect is an important example of how concepts from quantum mechanics can lead to exotic and non-classical effects on microscopic scales. This effect has sparked extensive research and applications in physics and engineering. Source: Wikipedia. The Casimir effect, English, Casimir effect, is a phenomenon proposed by Dutch physicist Hendrik Casimir in 1948. This effect was subsequently detected and named Casimir, named in memory of him. Based on the concept of vacuum is not empty of quantum field theory, even if there is no matter in the vacuum, there are still quantum fluctuations, and proposed this effect: two neutral, uncharged, metal plates in the vacuum will have suction. This phenomenon does not appear in classical theory. This effect can only be detected when the distance between the two objects is very small. For example, at submicron scales, the attractive force caused by this effect becomes the dominant force between neutral conductors. In fact, at a gap of 10 nanometers, about 100 times the size of an atom, the Casimir effect can produce a pressure of 1 atmosphere, 101.3 kilopascals. The van der Waals force between a pair of neutral atoms is a similar zero-point energy effect. No 17, ITEM 17. John Archibald Wheeler. Source: ChatGPT. John Archibald Wheeler, born in the United States in 1911 and died in 2008, was an outstanding theoretical physicist known for his important contributions in the fields of general relativity, nuclear physics, and quantum mechanics. His research and ideas have had a profound impact on modern physics, particularly in the fields of black hole physics and gravity. The following are some of John Wheeler's important contributions and research areas. Black hole physics. Wheeler is one of the important founders of black hole physics. He developed many concepts related to black holes, including the term black hole itself, as well as the properties and behavior of black holes. He also collaborated with other physicists such as Richard Feynman and Kip Thorne to pioneer the field of black hole thermodynamics. Quantum mechanics. Wheeler also made important contributions in the field of quantum mechanics. He collaborated with Niels Bohr to develop some important theories of nuclear physics and quantum mechanics, such as the resonance energy level model. Many worlds theory. Wheeler proposed a form of many worlds theory, the quantum many worlds interpretation. This theory proposes that when a quantum system is observed, the universe splits into distinct branches, each corresponding to a possible measurement outcome. Quantum measurement issues. He also proposed the concept of participant-observer, emphasizing the key role of observers and observations, triggering discussions on quantum measurement issues. General theory of relativity. Wheeler was a student of Einstein and had a deep understanding of general relativity and contributed to the study of gravitational waves. John Wheeler is considered one of the most outstanding theoretical physicists of the 20th century. His work covered many fields and had a profound impact on the development of modern physics. His ideas and research provided key theoretical foundations for many areas of physics and astrophysics. Source: Wikipedia. John Archibald Wheeler, July 9, 1911 to April 13, 2008, born in Jacksonville, Florida, USA, was an American theoretical physicist and a leader in the field of general relativity. Important scholar and guru. Although Wheeler did not win the Nobel Prize, he is undoubtedly one of the most important physicists in the United States. As a physicist, Wheeler's most important work was his collaboration with Bohr, who jointly revealed the mechanism of nuclear fission in 1942 and participated in the Manhattan Project to develop the atomic bomb. He was also one of the principal designers of America's first hydrogen bomb device. As a physics educator, Wheeler has trained several generations of American physicists, and he has supervised as many as 50 PhDs. A considerable number of the frontline figures in American cosmology or astronomical theoretical physics are Wheeler's students. No 18, ITEM 18. Richard Feynman. Source: ChatGPT. Richard Feynman, born in 1918 in the United States and died in 1988, was one of the most outstanding theoretical physicists of the 20th century, known for his outstanding contributions in the fields of quantum electrodynamics, QED, and quantum mechanics. In the world, he is not only an outstanding scientist but also an outstanding science communicator and educator. The following are some of Richard Feynman's important contributions and achievements. Quantum electrodynamics, QED. Feynman developed quantum electrodynamics, a theory describing electromagnetic interactions, in the 1950s with Julian Schwinger and Tom Cox. His QED theory explains the scattering phenomena of light, such as Compton scattering, and provides a framework for precise calculations of electron and photon interactions. Path integral. Feynman introduced the path integral method, a mathematical tool for dealing with quantum systems. This method is useful for solving complex quantum mechanical problems and understanding the behavior of particles. Quantum mechanics education. Feynman is famous for his unique teaching style and excellent teaching skills. He wrote a series of popular physics textbooks, such as Feynman Lectures on Physics, which had a profound impact on students and physicists. Ultracold liquid helium. Feynman also made contributions in the field of low-temperature physics, especially in the superfluidity and superconductivity of liquid helium. Nanotechnology. Feynman proposed the idea of "there's plenty of room at the bottom" in a famous speech in 1959, which is considered one of the foundations of nanotechnology. Richard Feynman is highly respected for his outstanding scientific contributions, passion for science education, and humorous personality. He is an outstanding theoretical physicist, as well as an outstanding popular science writer and educator, who has had a profound impact on science popularization and education. Source: Wikipedia. Richard Phillips Feynman, May 11, 1918 to February 15, 1988, an American theoretical physicist, known for his path integral expression of quantum mechanics. Quantum. He is world famous for his research on electrodynamics, superfluidity of supercooled liquid helium, and molecular models in particle physics. For their contributions to quantum electrodynamics, Feynman shared the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1965 with Julian Schwinger and Shinichiro Tomonaga. Feynman developed the Feynman diagram, a widely used graphical mathematical representation of the behavior of subatomic particles. Feynman was one of the most famous scientists in the world during his lifetime. In 1999, in a poll conducted by 130 of the world's top physicists held by the British academic journal Physics World, Feynman was ranked among the 10 greatest physicists of all time. Feynman helped develop the atomic bomb during World War II and later became well known to the public in the 1980s for his role in the investigation of the Challenger space shuttle disaster. In addition to his research in theoretical physics, he was a pioneer in the field of quantum computing and proposed the concept of nanotechnology. He served as Richard Tolman Professor of Theoretical Physics at Caltech. Feynman was enthusiastically involved in the popularization of physics, writing a large number of books and giving lectures to this end. These include a 1959 lecture on top-down nanotechnology, There's a Place at the Bottom, and a 3-volume undergraduate physics lecture, Feynman Lectures on Physics. Feynman is also best known for his semi-autobiography Stop It, Mr. Feynman. And You Don't Care What People Think, Ralph Reiden's Go to Tuva or Get Arrested, and James Gleick's biography Genius, The Life and Career of Science by Richard Feynman, The Life and Science of Richard Feynman, and is quite famous among the public. No 19, ITEM 19. The Birth of the Universe. Source: ChatGPT. The birth of the universe is a deep and complex scientific question, with many different theories and models trying to explain it. Currently, the birth of the universe is usually described as a process called the Big Bang Theory. Here are some basic concepts about the birth of the universe. Big Bang Theory. The Big Bang Theory, also known as the Big Bang Theory, is currently the most widely accepted model of the birth of the universe. According to this theory, the universe originated in a state of extreme high temperature and density about 13.8 billion years ago, and subsequently experienced rapid expansion. This model explains phenomena such as the distribution of galaxies and nebulae in the universe, the existence of cosmic background radiation, and the formation of the Milky Way. Cosmic expansion. A core concept in the Big Bang Theory is the expansion of the universe. The universe expanded from a very hot and dense state to today's universe, which includes tens of billions of galaxies and cosmic background radiation. Cosmic microwave background radiation. The Big Bang model predicts that microwave radiation will be left behind during the expansion of the universe. This radiation is called the cosmic microwave background radiation. This radiation was first observed in the 1960s, providing strong support for the Big Bang Theory. Development of cosmology. Cosmology is the scientific field that studies the origin, evolution, and structure of the universe. By observing factors such as galaxies, nebulae, cosmic background radiation, and dark matter and dark energy, cosmologists strive to understand the nature and evolution of the universe. Although the Big Bang Theory is currently the most widely accepted model of the birth of the universe, it still has some unresolved problems and mysteries, such as the initial conditions of the universe, the properties of dark matter and dark energy, etc. As such, the birth of the universe remains an active area of research, with scientists continually striving to gain a deeper understanding of its origins and evolution. Source: Pan Science. A message from 13.7 billion years ago. Through gravitational waves, get a glimpse of the truth about the birth of the universe. Cosmology Classroom for Adults, Deciphering the Origin of the Universe Through Neutrinos and Gravity Waves. Speaking of gravitational waves, most people may think of black holes, neutron stars, and supernovae, the three objects that trigger the topic. However, only at the moment of these astral events, gravitational waves are produced, like a show in the universe. After the gravity waves pass through, this information can no longer be detected. For example, what LIGO captured in September 2015 were gravitational waves from an alien body 1.3 billion light-years away. However, compared with the age of the universe, this is actually a relatively young stellar event. 13.8 billion years ago, the universe was born as a fireball under ultra-high temperature and ultra-high pressure. This is the so-called Big Thunder. After that, as the universe expanded rapidly, its temperature and density gradually dropped, and then evolved into its current appearance. This is the Big Bang cosmology, and it is also the standard cosmology currently supported by most scholars. So, why did the ultra-high temperature and ultra-pressure world of the fireball universe arise? Why does the universe not stay the same size, but expand rapidly? There is currently a more accepted theory, which is the inflation theory mentioned many times before. In this theory, there was no matter or light at the beginning of the universe, but a vacuum filled with energy. Through this vacuum energy, the universe expands exponentially at a speed faster than the speed of light. After the inflationary period ended, this vacuum energy was converted into light, fireball, resulting in an ultra-high temperature and ultra-high pressure universe. This is the so-called Big Thunder. However, if there is a lot of energy in space, there should be a force like gravity that shrinks space. Why does space rapidly expand at a speed exceeding the speed of light and enter a period of inflation? Scholars use the vacuum energy in a quantum field called the INFL-Aden field to explain the period of inflation. The INFL-Aden field is a scalar field whose existence has not been confirmed. For now, its existence remains hypothetical. Currently known scalar fields, such as the Higgs field produced by the Higgs boson, were discovered and published in the LHC experiment by CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research in Geneva, Switzerland in 2012. The researchers also won the 2013 Nobel Prize in Physics for this, which should still be fresh in your memory. There is a big difference between the INFL-Aden field and the Higgs field in terms of mass and particle binding force. In the vacuum of the INFL-Aden field, a long-term negative pressure will be generated. And this negative pressure will cause the expansion of the universe to accelerate. This is very similar to the current dark energy mechanism. Some people speculate that dark energy may be an undiscovered scalar field. Like the period of inflation, there may be vacuum energy of an unknown scalar field in the current universe, just like dark energy, accounting for 70% of the energy in the entire universe. Matter, which accounts for 30% of the energy in the universe, and light, which accounts for 0.1%, will produce gravity, but it is no match for the repulsion generated by vacuum energy, so the expansion of the universe is currently accelerating. By the way, even if the energy of matter and light account for 100% of the universe will only slow down its expansion and will not shrink back. Because the expansion was too fast in the early stages, the universe will only continue to expand. After the inflationary period ends, space energy will quickly transform into material energy, causing the universe to transform into a state of ultra-high temperature, ultra-high pressure, and full of radiation. This is the big thunderbolt fireball. Inflation theory illustrates several points. The first is the aforementioned universe expanding faster than the speed of light. This results in the isotropic temperature of the universe we now see, within the cosmic horizon, which is, to an accuracy of 1 part in 100,000, an absolute temperature of 2.723 K, about 3 K of the cosmic microwave background, cmB. Second, this rapid expansion makes the shape of the universe become geometrically quite flat, like an inflated balloon. Furthermore, the quantum perturbation of the INFL-Aden field is the source of material perturbations in the early universe, which is the temperature perturbation observed in the 3K cosmic microwave background radiation. The INFL-Aden field also contains quantum perturbations. These small disturbances expand rapidly during the short-term inflation process and extend to the other side of the cosmic horizon, causing density differences in different regions of the present universe. They are also the seeds for the formation of galaxies. The temperature perturbation observed by the cmB is exactly the quantum perturbation of the INFL-Aden field produced during the inflation period. In addition, in terms of gravity waves, the period of inflation will not only produce the aforementioned density, temperature, disturbances, but also space-time disturbances. During the rapid expansion process, the vacuum will continue to change, producing gravitons in pairs, which is similar to the mechanism that produces Hawking radiation around black holes. Scholars believe that this kind of gravity wave still exists today, calling it primitive gravity wave. Because this kind of gravity wave exists throughout the universe, it is also called background gravity wave. If such background gravity waves can be detected, it will not only become evidence for the theory of inflation, but will also be a big step in research related to the origin of the universe. The merger of the black hole binary produces gravitational waves, but the event ends when the gravitational waves pass through the Earth and are observed by LIGO. Not just black holes, but also the merger of neutron star binaries and supernova explosions. However, this is not the case for gravity waves produced during inflation. The entire universe was filled with gravitational waves at that time. However, this kind of gravity wave exists like white noise, and it is difficult to analyze the state of this wave, so it is also called background gravity wave. If divided according to the type of wave, it can be counted as a standing wave. How to find this standing wave is our current topic. Different from light waves, the polarization modes of gravity waves can be divided into two types, cross-shape, plus, and cross-shape, times, as shown in the figure below. Cross-shaped polarization will stretch vertically and horizontally, and cross-shaped polarization will stretch diagonally, as the name suggests. After these two waves are superimposed, they will look like the right side of the picture and propagate outward. As time passes, the gravity waves from the black hole will continue to advance, but the gravity waves generated during the inflation period are background gravity waves, a standing wave that fills the entire universe like noise. If such a wave could be discovered, it would prove the theory of inflation. What exactly is the inflaton field produced during the inflationary period? To repeat, the inflaton field is considered to be some unknown, very heavy scalar field with an upper limit of mass below 1013 GeV. In the current low-energy universe, there is no inflaton field. Even through particle collisions, generating the highest energy currently achievable, several 10 TeV, equivalent to a temperature of several 10 degrees Celsius, there is no way to generate such a field. Each elementary particle has a quantum field accompanying its appearance. For example, the Higgs field will appear along with the Higgs boson. For a scalar field like the Higgs field, the expected value with the highest probability of existence is called the field value, vacuum value, which is the position of the Higgs boson. And there are so-called quantum perturbations around the field values. Such quantum perturbations only make sense at microscopic scales. At the macroscopic scale of our lives, quantum perturbations are almost undetectable, so we go about our daily lives unaware of them. There are many circuits around us that use diodes. Looking at these circuits at the microscopic scale reveals quantum perturbations around the particle like electrons, which are important for diodes. Under this kind of quantum disturbance, the current can only flow in the direction of the jumpable quantum disturbance in the circuit. This is why the diode has such special properties. It can be seen that quantum theory is also an important theory in modern technology. Therefore, considering the quantum perturbation of the inflaton field in the early universe, we can know that when the universe was still very small, inflation did not occur at the same time everywhere in the universe. Inflation begins and ends at different times in various places in the universe. Quantum perturbations will cause time perturbations, but after rapid expansion such as inflation, they will transform into classical perturbations beyond the horizon. Therefore, we will observe under the macroscopic horizon that various places have different densities. This is the so-called density perturbation or temperature perturbation. All in all, after the initial quantum perturbation is generated, it rapidly extends with the rapid expansion of space and transforms into a spatial density perturbation. No 20, ITEM 20. Extracting vacuum energy. Source: ChatGPT. Extracting vacuum energy is a theoretical concept, which refers to obtaining zero-point energy or energy in the quantum field from the void. Although the idea is often discussed in science fiction and some fringe science fields, in actual science and engineering, extracting vacuum energy is an extremely complex and difficult problem. Here is some relevant information. Zero-point energy. Zero-point energy in a vacuum is a basic concept in quantum field theory, that is, the lowest possible energy state that still exists at a temperature of absolute zero. This energy is very weak and usually not easy to directly observe or extract. Fixed energy. Zero-point energy is usually considered to be a fixed energy in the void, so extracting it may cause a series of problems, such as energy conservation. Technical challenge. Extracting zero-point energy requires developing a highly advanced technology capable of capturing and converting energy in the void. Currently, we do not have such technology, so the problem remains unsolved. Theoretical controversy. Some theoretical physicists and researchers believe that extracting vacuum energy may not be feasible because it involves some issues in quantum mechanics and energy conservation principles. Therefore, this issue is somewhat controversial in the scientific community. In summary, extracting vacuum energy is a challenging theoretical concept that has not yet been proven feasible. The scientific community needs further research and technological development to determine whether it will be possible to extract energy from the void in the future. This problem is currently viewed more as a science fiction than a practical engineering goal. Source: The Epoch Times. New breakthrough, using teleportation to extract energy from vacuum. Energy teleportation sounds like the stuff of science fiction, but research shows that energy can actually be extracted from a vacuum, making something out of nothing real. According to a new report released by Quantum magazine on February 22, 2 different and independent physical experiments used quantum mechanics to prove that energy can be summoned from the vacuum by transmitting energy over microscopic distances, essentially extracting energy from the void, which strongly supports a theory proposed by Japanese physicist Masahiro Hata in 2008. Seth Lloyd, a quantum physicist at MIT who was not a member of the research team, told Quantum magazine, "You're actually teleporting energy. You're forcing energy." When Masahiro Hata first proposed his theory more than a decade ago, it caused little fanfare. At the time, it was thought that extracting energy from the quantum vacuum was unrealistic. But there does exist some kind of quantum field fluctuation in the vacuum, and pulling energy from nearby space into the vacuum and using that energy is a realistic concept called teleportation, which was discovered last year by the University of Waterloo and Stony Brook University. Scientists achieved this in practical terms twice. Masahiro Hata's research in 2008 brought him into contact with the concept of negative energy for the first time. At that time, he believed that it was not an independent thing. He then studied quantum vacuum, and based on calculations he believed that the vacuum could actually fluctuate within the quantum field, moving energy between the two regions. In a more modern version of the experiment, the University of Waterloo team discovered that when energy is expended in one place, energy is gained in an energy vacuum in another. Nayeli Rodriguez Briones, who now works at the University of California, also participated in the experiment. She told Quantum magazine, "It is good to see that using current technology, energy was observed to be activated. This is real physics, not science fiction," said Masahiro Hata. No 21, ITEM 21. Akashic Records. Source: Wikipedia. Akashic Records, also translated as Akashic Records, or the origin of the universe, in which the word Akasha is transliterated from the Sanskrit Akasha, which means the sky covers it. Down, space or ether. According to its theory, the Akashic Records are a collection of unknowable messages that are encoded and stored in the ether. In other words, it is a non-physical existence, meaning it cannot be perceived or experienced. This concept is quite popular in the recent New Age movement in the West. The Akashic Records are understood to have existed since the creation of all existence, and even before that. Even though knowledge systems, such as medicine, law, etc., have complicated changes with external changes in time, these messages have long been recorded. In the Akashic Records, for example, people, animals, plants, minerals, etc., they are simply encoded into a common language. It can be explained that because all creation or culture is an observation of the existing environment, the environment is the source. There are many related works that point out that the Akashic Records are actually within the scope of universal human experience, but they are encoded so that they can only be captured by a few people who enter the transcendental state under certain circumstances. No 22, ITEM 22. Dark energy. Source: ChatGPT. Dark energy is an important but confusing concept in cosmology. It is a hypothetical form of energy thought to make up most of the universe and drive its expansion. Here are the key facts about dark energy. Discovery: the existence of dark energy was first proposed by observing the relationship between the brightness and distance of supernova explosions. These observations suggest that the expansion of the universe is accelerating, rather than slowing down as previously expected. The discovery was unexpected and raises important questions about the evolution of the universe. Role: dark energy is thought to be a form of energy that is evenly distributed in the universe and has negative pressure. This negative pressure causes an anti-gravity effect, which is accelerated expansion. Its force becomes stronger and stronger, pushing the universe to expand and interacting with matter and radiation in the universe. The difference between dark matter, dark energy and dark matter are two different concepts. Dark matter is a substance not directly observed that affects gravity but does not emit light. Dark energy is a hypothetical form of energy that has anti-gravity properties and drives the expansion of the universe. Unknown properties: although the existence of dark energy has received some observational support, its properties are still unknown. Scientists have yet to determine exactly what it is, a new particle, field, or other form of energy. This is a vexing mystery in cosmology. Cosmological significance: dark energy has a profound impact on the evolution of the universe. It leads to a gradual increase in the expansion rate of the universe, which may cause the future evolution of the universe to become more complex. Understanding the nature of dark energy is crucial to understanding the fate and structure of the universe. Although the existence of dark energy raises numerous questions and speculations, it remains an exciting area of research in cosmology and particle physics. Scientists are constantly conducting experiments and observations to find more information about dark energy, hoping to unravel this major mystery in the universe. Source: Wikipedia. Dark energy is some kind of energy that acts on the space-time structure itself, and is a uniform negative pressure that causes the space-time structure to expand. In physical cosmology, dark energy is an imperceptible form of energy that fills space and increases the expansion rate of the universe. The dark energy hypothesis is one of the most popular explanations for today's observations of the accelerating expansion of the universe. In the Standard Model of the universe, dark energy accounts for 68.3% of the mass and energy of the universe. There are two models of dark energy: the cosmological constant, i.e., a constant energy density that fills space uniformly, and the scalar field, i.e., a dynamic field whose energy density changes with time and space, such as the fifth element and modulus space, physics. Scalar fields that have a constant influence on the universe are often included in the cosmological constant. The cosmological constant is physically equivalent to vacuum energy. A scalar field that changes in space is difficult to separate from the cosmological constant because it changes so slowly. The term dark energy was introduced by American theoretical cosmologist Michael Turner. No. 23, ITEM 23. 0-point field information presentation. Source: ChatGPT. 0-point field is a virtual energy field. According to the principles of quantum physics, it contains the lowest possible energy state that still exists at absolute zero. This field is thought to include various quantum fluctuations and oscillations, which appear as waves. The information in the zero-point field is presented in the form of waves, which is closely related to the concept of quantum field theory. According to quantum field theory, different types of particles correspond to different types of fields, such as electron fields, photon fields, etc. These fields exist in the void, and their oscillations and fluctuations lead to excited states and interactions of particles. In the zero-point field, these fluctuations and oscillations are considered to exist in the void, and they will not stop even at temperatures of absolute zero. The nature and frequency of these fluctuations can vary depending on the type of field, which may include electromagnetic waves, particle fluctuations, etc. It should be noted that the energy density of the zero-point field is usually very weak and difficult to observe or measure directly. Its existence and properties are based on inferences from theoretical physics, and it plays an important role at the microscopic scale but is not usually directly apparent at the macroscopic scale. Therefore, the information of the zero-point field exists in the form of waves, but does not usually manifest itself in our regular experience. This concept plays a key role in the fields of quantum physics and particle physics, but it is very different from daily life experience and intuitive feelings. No 24, ITEM 24. Nirvana. Source: ChatGPT. Nirvana is an important concept in Buddhism, often described as achieving liberation and transcending suffering. It is one of the core teachings of Buddhism, especially in Mahayana Buddhism, such as Zen, Pure Land, Tantra, etc. Here are some key concepts of Nirvana. Liberation and transcendence. Nirvana represents the individual soul or self, called an arahant, reaching a state beyond reincarnation and suffering. In Buddhism, reincarnation refers to the process of continuous rebirth and death of an individual soul in a closed cycle of life, accompanied by suffering and impermanence. The goal of nirvana is to escape this cycle and achieve eternal peace and liberation. Spiritual awakening. Nirvana is often associated with spiritual awakening and enlightenment. Buddhist teachings teach individuals to achieve spiritual awakening by eliminating defilements such as greed, hatred, and ignorance, thereby achieving the state of nirvana. Conceptual complexity. The concept of nirvana is very complex and may be interpreted differently by different schools of Buddhism. In some schools, nirvana is seen as a state beyond individual existence, while in other schools it is seen as the state of realizing one's true nature or true self. Practice. To achieve nirvana, Buddhists often engage in practices such as meditation, confession, and moral practices to purify the mind and free themselves from the constraints of reincarnation. Individual experience. Nirvana is usually regarded as an individual inner experience, which is difficult to accurately describe through language or words. It's an extremely introspective state that's difficult to fully understand or share. Nirvana is a core concept in Buddhism that represents the pursuit of spiritual freedom, liberation, and transcendence of suffering. Different Buddhist schools and traditions may understand and emphasize nirvana slightly differently, but it is generally considered the ultimate goal of Buddhist practitioners. Source: Wikipedia. Nirvana, a Buddhist term, is also translated as Nibbana, Nirvana, Nibbana, and Nirvana. It is translated as extinguishing, annihilation, tranquility, inaction, liberation, freedom, peace, and immortality, etc., newly translated as parinirvana, Pali, parinibna, Sanskrit, parinirva, also translated as paniyuan, Pali nirva, entering into annihilation, and passing away. Buddhist teachings believe that nirvana is a state in which the self-nature of all dharma in the world is eliminated. Therefore, in nirvana, there will never be all kinds of troubles and pains in life. The view of Theravada Buddhism is that from then on, there will no longer be any after effects, that is, there will no longer be the 6 paths of reincarnation in the next life. This term originated from Brahmanism in ancient India, and there were different opinions at that time. Buddhism believes that outsiders cannot realize what nirvana is. In the era without Buddhism, only Buddhas and Paksha Buddhas could personally experience nirvana. After the birth of Bodhisattva Sakyamuni, he became a Buddha, turned the wheel of Dharma, and taught his disciples the Dharma. Only then did the disciples of the Sravakas and Arhats of the 4 fruits realize nirvana. After the Buddha and Arhats lay down their lives, they will attain the realm of nirvana without any residue and enter the state of non-birth and immortality, also known as nirvana. It is generally more commonly expressed as parinibbana, meaning entering into the state of nirvana, that is, entering into annihilation, which means after the physical body dies, it enters the state of nirvana, which is neither birth nor death. To this day, when Buddhist masters, ascetics, monks, nuns, and other practitioners pass away, many people will respectfully call them nirvana. The Mahayana view is that Buddhas and Bodhisattvas can save all living beings at the same time in nirvana. The nirvana of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas is called nirvana without abiding. Nirvana is a religious term, a transliteration of ancient Indian language. In Sanskrit, nirva has the meanings of renunciation, liberation, odorlessness, no troubles, etc. In Pali, Nibbana is derived from the verb nibdi, which means to be blown out or extinguished. From the root of the word, Sanskrit and Pali both have the meaning of staying away from the state of trouble. Religions in ancient India generally refer to a state of freedom from suffering, but each sect has different views on how to enter nirvana. In Hindu, Brahmanical philosophy, it means the liberation of the body and the union with higher life, reaching the state of unity of Brahman and self. No 25, ITM 25. Hell does not exist. Source: ChatGPT. The question of whether hell exists involves issues of religion, philosophy, and personal belief, and different cultures and religions have different views. Here are some perspectives. Religious religions. In many religions, hell is described as an existence where those who have sinned are punished after death. For example, some traditions in Christianity, Islam, and Buddhism include teachings about hell. Hell is often considered the consequence of sin in these belief systems and is intended to encourage people to adhere to moral and ethical norms. Atheist perspective. Some atheists and non-religious people may believe that hell is a fictional concept with no scientific or logical basis for its existence. They may view hell as a religious myth or symbol rather than a real place. Philosophical perspective. Some philosophers and thinkers have questioned the existence of hell, arguing that it may be a way for human religion to deal with issues of death, morality, and punishment. They may view hell as a symbol representing the consequences of evil deeds rather than an actual location. In short, whether hell exists depends on one's beliefs, culture, and philosophical views. This is a complex issue and different people may hold different views. Religious belief plays an important role in this issue, but it is not the only perspective. For some, hell may be a spiritual or moral concept and not necessarily an actual place. No 26, ITM 26. 0-point field information. Source: ChatGPT. 1 contains past information and future information. 2 presented in the form of stereoscopic projection. 3 contains information about parallel universes. 4 usually the content of information is memory, 3-dimensional presentation. 0-point field is a concept in quantum field theory, which describes the lowest possible energy state existing in the void. The 0-point field is considered to include various quantum fluctuations and oscillations, which are manifestations of the quantum properties of elementary particles and fields. Although the existence of the 0-point field is not usually directly observed, it plays an important role in quantum physics and cosmology. The following is some information related to 0-point field. Energy. The 0-point field is a void energy state with non-zero energy density. It's still there even at absolute zero. This energy is caused by quantum fluctuations, including electromagnetic waves, particle fluctuations, etc. Wave nature. Fluctuations in the 0-point field have wave properties and can be described as wave patterns. The nature of these wave patterns depends on the type of field associated with them, such as electromagnetic fields, quantum fields, etc. Experimental verification. Although the existence of the 0-point field cannot be directly observed, its influence has been verified in some experiments. For example, one experimental piece of evidence is the Casimir effect, which describes the tiny attraction between 2 parallel metal plates due to the presence of a 0-point field. Void energy. The 0-point field is also called void energy because it exists in the void even though no actual particles or matter are present. This concept is very important for explaining some quantum phenomena and energy fluctuation phenomena. Information. The fluctuations and oscillations of the 0-point field contain information about the quantum system, although this information is often difficult to extract or interpret directly. Some theoretical research attempts to connect the 0-point field with information theory to explore whether it contains important information about the universe and matter. The properties and effects of 0-point fields have sparked extensive research and discussion in physics and cosmology. It represents the wonder and complexity of the quantum world and is of great significance in explaining the behavior of many phenomena and particles in the microscopic world. Although it is not directly visible, it plays a key role in theoretical physics and experiments. The concept that the 0-point field includes past and future information, presented as a stereoscopic projection, seems to be a perspective that goes beyond traditional physics and scientific theory. Under the framework of traditional science, the zero-point field is regarded as the lowest energy state in the void, independent of time and space, and is usually not directly related to past or future information. The ideas mentioned include past and future information, memories, and stereoscopic projections that may be closer to concepts in the fields of philosophy, spirituality, or science fiction than traditional science. Such concepts may exist in some philosophical, religious, or supernatural thought, but they usually have no scientific support because they have not been scientifically verified or experimented. It is important to emphasize that the scientific community often relies on experiments, observations, and verifications to establish theories and concepts. The idea that the zero-point field contains information about the past and the future is currently outside the scope of science, so it is considered a supernatural or philosophical idea rather than part of modern science. Opinions as to whether the zero-point field contains information about parallel universes generally belong to the realm of science fiction or philosophy rather than traditional scientific views. Parallel universe theory is a hypothesis that proposes the existence of multiple universes parallel to ours, each with its own rules and physical laws. Although this concept appears frequently in science fiction literature and movies, it has not been scientifically proven. The zero-point field is generally considered a concept in quantum field theory that describes the lowest possible energy state in the void. This concept has no direct relevance to parallel universes in traditional quantum physics. The zero-point field is related to the interactions between matter and particles in our universe and the energy fluctuations in the void, but it is not usually used to describe parallel universes. It needs to be understood that the concept of parallel universes belongs to the realm of philosophy and science fiction and has not yet been supported by scientific experiments or observations. While the concept is intriguing in science fiction novels and movies, in reality it remains an unsolved problem. Therefore, linking the zero-point field with information from parallel universes is a science fiction or philosophical idea rather than a point of view based on existing science. Source: Hashi News. Consciousness and zero-point energy. Recently a Tai Chi instructor showed me his Vajra collection, and I had never had the opportunity to handle a Vajra before. With his permission, I picked it up and played with it. Soon I saw white smoke around it, as well as twinkling star-shaped firelights. I thought I was dazzled, but I had indeed touched its solid oval magnetic field space in the air. Soon it began to emit several columns of golden light. I couldn't help shouting, asking the coach to come over and take a look. He also saw a white light field. Another more interesting thing happened the next day. I shared it in the WeChat technology group. A professor immediately contacted me and asked me to help him observe the aura of gemstones. I told him that the aura could indeed be seen in the photos he sent me, but they would be distorted. He called me via video call and asked me to teach him how to do it. In the video, while looking at the gem, I told him to inject his eyes into the edge of the gem to observe the aura. Not long after, the red gem began to emit white light, and it became brighter and brighter according to my instructions. Its turquoise aura light began to flash, until the professor also saw it and was extremely surprised. I can more clearly observe its aura from the far end. The blue-green aura light waves began to condense toward both ends, and two oval-shaped green light waves gradually formed. At this time, I found that when my eyes stared at one of the light waves, the other would disappear. I could not see both light waves at the same time. I told these two things to the CEO of the gemstone company Medica Health in Lancashire, England. She told me that this is teleportation technology, and she was very happy that I could start using this technology. Teleportation is the act of transporting yourself or your thoughts to a location miles away from you in a fraction of a second. The two stories I shared have one thing in common: spaces filled with energy fields that we cannot see or feel. From ancient times to the present, human beings have followed spiritual masters and continued to practice, with the purpose of obtaining the energy in these spaces. Their names range from chi, prana, to ki. With the continuous development of quantum science, Previously unknown mysteries are gradually being solved. In the 1930s, Tesla described an energy source that could provide unlimited energy, called radiant energy, cosmic energy, tachyon energy, or zero-point field energy. Physicists today call it scalar energy. Scalar energy is everywhere. Nobel Prize winner Richard Feynman once said that there is enough energy in the space of a teacup to boil the world. All oceans. Unlike radio, magnetic, and electromagnetic waves, the wave pattern of scalar waves is circular and nonlinear, so the energy does not decay with the passage of time or space. According to Professor Konstantin Mail's research, neutrinos are magnetic scalar waves. His paper points out that double helix DNA is like a cellular tower, establishing photon resonance by receiving and transmitting photons carrying information. Not just the body, but the entire universe uses a network of scalar energy, called the zero-point field, as a transmission medium. So photons or light embedded in the bases of genes basically represent consciousness. Quantum physicists believe that the zero-point field is essentially a chaotic mass of scalar energy vibrating at infinite frequencies until the energy is observed by consciousness, organized and transformed into matter. For example, when a meditation group focuses its awareness on a pancreatic cancer patient, whether in person or remotely, the healing photons in the patient's body will interact with the scalar energy in the zero-point field. Immediately initiate treatment on the DNA within cells of patients with pancreatic cancer. Although this theory is still a hypothesis, its therapeutic effect has been confirmed in experimental statistics. Finally, let's bring the topic back to the energy field of the Vajra at the beginning. In ancient India, the Vajra was regarded as a weapon, and later evolved into a magical tool for tantric practice. In the esoteric tradition, the Vajra is regarded as the bodhisattva that can destroy troubles. The Vajra also symbolizes the wisdom of Tathagata Vajra and breaks the demonic obstacles of ignorance and delusion. When I told the CEO about the golden light energy emitted by the Vajra, she said it was great to hear that someone was using it for healing. Chinese and Western beliefs about healing are getting closer. No 27, ITEM 27. Left brain vs right brain. Source: ChatGPT. The left brain and the right brain are the two hemispheres of the brain, and they are slightly different in brain structure and function. Here is some basic information about left brain and right brain. Left and right brain structure: the brain is divided into two hemispheres, the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere, which are connected together by the pons. The two hemispheres have symmetry within the brain and are connected to each other by nerve fibers called the corpus callosum. Functional division of labor: traditionally, the left brain is considered to be mainly responsible for language processing, logical reasoning, analysis and mathematical abilities. The right brain is thought to be primarily responsible for spatial perception, emotional processing, intuition and creative thinking. Working together, although there is a functional division of labor between left and right brains, they generally work together. Most cognitive tasks involve the cooperation of both hemispheres. For example, reading requires the language processing capabilities of the left brain, but it also requires the spatial perception of the right brain to understand the arrangement and layout of words. Individual differences: the functional division of labor between the left and right brains may vary from person to person. This individual difference can lead to some people performing better at specific tasks, such as math, art, or music. Brain damage: in some cases, one side of the brain may be damaged, causing the other side to have compromised function. This phenomenon is called brain plasticity. It should be noted that the idea of the functional division of labor between the left and right brains has been oversimplified in the past, and modern research has shown that brain functions are more complex and not easily explained in this binary opposition. Various areas of the brain collaborate with each other rather than working completely independently. As a result, modern neuroscience tends to emphasize an integrated and collaborative perspective rather than viewing the left and right brains as completely separate entities. No 28, ITEM 28. Seeing deceased relatives after death. Source: ChatGPT. Whether you can see your deceased loved ones after death is a question involving religious, spiritual beliefs and personal experience. Different cultural and religious traditions, as well as personal beliefs, may view this issue differently. Here are some relevant points. Religious beliefs. Some religions, such as Christianity, Islam, and certain traditions of Buddhism, teach a belief in an afterlife or reincarnation. According to these beliefs, the soul may continue to exist after death and may be reunited with deceased loved ones. This belief provides comfort and hope and encourages people to adhere to moral and ethical norms. Spiritual beliefs. Some people believe that the soul may continue to exist after death, interacting with deceased loved ones or other spirits. This belief is found in different cultures and religious traditions. Personal experience. Some people claim to have encountered deceased loved ones during near-death experiences, NDEs, or in dreams. These experiences are often deeply personal and difficult to verify scientifically, but they can be powerful experiences for those who experience them. It is important to note that this question involves personal beliefs and spiritual experiences, so there is no clear scientific evidence to support or disprove these views. Everyone's beliefs and experiences are likely to be different, so opinions vary on whether it is possible to see deceased loved ones after death. This is an issue with deep personal and cultural context. Source: Voice of Hope. Can I see my loved ones in the underworld after death? Modern science has solved the mystery. The space where human beings live is called the Yangjian, and the space where their souls reside after death is called the underworld. There are records of the underworld in a large number of ancient Chinese myths and Taoist classics. Thousands of years of cultural research have pointed out that all things have both yin and yang. The spirit can also be divided into yin and yang, which is very detailed and profound. People often say that good people go to heaven when they die, while bad people go to hell to be punished. Westerners believe in demons and angels. Each religion has its own views, but they all advocate that people do good deeds and be in awe, because all the thoughts of the human heart are known to the gods. From a modern biological perspective, death means that consciousness permanently disappears from the brain and will also disappear from the universe. The brain is the place where consciousness is generated. Brain death also means that consciousness ceases to exist. Although a person's consciousness will disappear after death, and his body will disappear with cremation, the atoms that make up a person will not actually disappear. Whether it is cremated or decomposed by microorganisms, this chemical process will not destroy the atomic structure, nor will it cause the atoms to disappear. The number and type of atoms that make up the human body will not change. In this sense, people do not really die, but continue in another way. Their existence will not be erased by the universe. Whether it is passed down by future generations or atoms continue to cycle, they will always be there. This undoubtedly expands the scope of research in this field. Scientists will no longer just focus on those who are on the verge of death, but can study the changes in consciousness in those who are truly dead by bringing them back. Since it can be said that people have souls, then the world after death must also exist. According to the understanding of physicists, after death, a person will still exist in another life form in the multiverse. Regarding the death of a person, the soul will enter a world without space and time boundaries, but it will still exist in the entire universe. Some people say that death is not terrible, but loneliness is the most terrible thing. As we all know, human life is limited. Will people meet and reunite with their loved ones in the underworld after death? Whether they can see each other depends on their fate. This ancient mystery has actually been solved by modern science. No 29, ITEM 29. How to observe zero-point field information. Source: ChatGPT. Observing or seeing what is in the zero-point field is a complicated problem because the zero-point field is usually invisible and its presence is difficult to observe directly at microscopic scales. Oscillations and fluctuations in the zero-point field are extremely weak and can usually only be detected under highly controlled experimental conditions. Here are some possible approaches and considerations. Laboratory experiments. scientists can use particle physics experiments to explore the existence of zero-point fields. For example, the Casimir effect is an experimental phenomenon involving a small attraction between two parallel metal plates that is thought to be related to the presence of a zero-point field. However, such experiments require highly sophisticated instruments and conditions. Nanotechnology. Some nanotechnology research involves exploring the possible effects of zero-point fields, especially at the nanometer scale. These studies may provide some insight into the zero-point field. Particle accelerator. Some large-scale particle accelerator experiments, such as those at CERN, involve collisions of high-energy particles, and these collisions may trigger some effects in the zero-point field. Mathematical and theoretical studies. Theoretical studies and mathematical models of the zero-point field can provide insights into its properties and possible effects. Theoretical physicists use mathematical tools to speculate on the properties and behavior of zero-point fields. It should be emphasized that the zero-point field is a concept involving microscopic scale and quantum physics, and is usually not directly observed in daily life. Its existence and properties are the result of speculation and experiment based on physical theory. Therefore, ordinary people cannot directly observe or see the contents of the zero-point field, and special scientific experiments and research are required to understand it in depth. No 30, ITEM 30. Law of Attraction. Source: Wikipedia. The law of attraction is a concept from the New Thinking movement that holds that relationships can have positive or negative consequences through positive or negative thoughts. The law of attraction also generally refers to the process of attracting people with similar thoughts and being attracted to each other at the same time. It is a process of mutual attraction, not just the influence of one thought on another. In other words, two people with similar mindsets are attracted to each other. Judging from the results, thoughts have a great attraction to things, but we can also see that things change as people change. This belief is based on people's belief that their ideas are generated from pure energy, as if one force attracts another force. An example to support this is if a person opens an envelope expecting to see a bill, then the law of attraction will acknowledge this thought and will see the bill after opening the envelope. When a person determines, rather than anticipates, the possibility of a check, according to the same law, that person will find a check instead of a bill, although in some cases a positive or negative attitude will produce corresponding results, mainly comfort. Agent effect and nocebo effect, but there is no scientific experimental basis for the law of attraction, and there are even many counterexamples. No 31, ITEM 31. How to connect to the Akashic Records. Source: ChatGPT. Akashic Records is a spiritual or supernatural concept that holds that there is a universal information field that contains records of all knowledge, experiences, and events. This concept is often considered part of the realm of spirituality and philosophy rather than science. Therefore, connections to the Akashic Records often involve personal spiritual practices and beliefs. Here are some possible ways to connect to or obtain information from Akashic Records. Meditation. Meditation is a practice used to access a deep inner state. Some people claim they can access the Akashic Records through meditation, gaining information and insight. Spiritual guidance. Some people seek the help of a spiritual teacher or counselor to help them connect with the Akashic Records. These mentors may use meditation, energy work, or other techniques to facilitate connection. Dreams. Some people claim they can access the Akashic Records in their dreams for information or guidance. This may require practicing dream journaling and dream interpretation skills. Writing and drawing. Some people use creative writing, drawing, or other art forms as a way to connect with the Akashic Records. They believe that through these mediums they can gain information and insights. To be clear, connecting to the Akashic Records is a highly personal experience that often relies on one's beliefs, spiritual practices, and inner practices. This concept has no support in the scientific field, so it is usually considered to be a view that belongs to the realm of spirituality or philosophy. If you are interested in this area, you can seek instruction from a spiritual teacher or counselor, but do so with caution and an open mind. No 32, ITEM 32. Explaining the world after death using the concepts of quantum mechanics. Source: ChatGPT. Using the concepts of quantum mechanics to explain the world after death is a philosophical endeavor because quantum physics is usually used to describe the behavior of microscopic particles rather than macroscopic phenomena such as life and death. However, some people have proposed hypotheses and ideas that attempt to connect the concepts of quantum mechanics to the soul, death, and existence after life. Here is one possible explanation. Wave-particle duality. The wave-particle duality in quantum mechanics shows that microscopic particles can behave as particles, such as electrons, or as waves. This duality has led some to propose that the nature of the soul or life may also somehow involve wave properties, rather than just particles. Non-locality. Non-locality in quantum mechanics shows that there may be a seemingly distant relationship between microscopic particles, that is, the state of one particle may immediately affect another particle regardless of time and space limitations. Some believe that this non-locality may be related to the life and death nature of the soul or consciousness. Schrödinger equation. The Schrödinger equation is a mathematical tool that describes the evolution of quantum systems. Some have suggested that the soul, or the essence of life, might obey some kind of law similar to Schrödinger's equation, allowing it to exist in a state of fluctuation and continue to evolve after death. To be clear, these views belong to the realm of philosophy and spirituality and are not formal views of quantum physics. Quantum mechanics is a theory that describes the microscopic world and does not provide a direct explanation for macroscopic phenomena such as life and death. Furthermore, these ideas are often questioned in the scientific community because they often lack experimental support and verifiability. The afterlife and the nature of the soul are matters of religious, philosophical, and spiritual belief, and different cultures and belief systems may offer different explanations. The scientific community generally approaches these questions with caution because they often cannot be verified through scientific experiments. Source: iFun. Scientists use quantum mechanics to explain the world after death. Can humans be reborn in the future? The soul is an eternal topic that humans discuss. People care about the world before death, and they are also curious about whether there will be a soul to continue the next journey after death. However, death is a very individual experience, like a fish drinking water, knowing whether it is warm or cold. Even if the soul does not die after death, the deceased can no longer make excuses to tell the living about his experience, and the living, how is it possible to receive it with the senses? Even if it is received, for example, through being entrusted with a dream, traveling through a ghost, etc., whether you are willing to believe it or not, how to make a third party believe it, etc., constitute another obstacle. Therefore, from ancient times to the present, yin and yang have been separated, and life and death are vast. Just as the Buddhist scriptures describe the state of existence of all living beings, each one does not know the other. However, quantum mechanics, which has changed the 21st century, is trying to break through this barrier of life and death experience. Many well-known physics researchers from famous institutions such as Cambridge University, Princeton University, and the Max Planck Institute of Physics in Munich, Germany, all claim that quantum mechanics predicts some situations in the afterlife. They assert that human beings have souls and bodies. Duality. This is an extension of the law of wave-particle duality of subatomic particles. The basic concept of quantum mechanics, wave-particle duality, holds that basic microscopic particles, such as photons or electrons, possess both particle and wave properties. Wave-particle duality is one of the basic properties of microscopic particles. In classical mechanics, which has been overturned, the research objects are always clearly distinguished between pure particles and pure waves. The former constitutes what we often call matter, and a typical example of the latter is light waves. This old-age theory that completely separates the two has fundamentally led to the opposition between traditional science and religion, and the long-term fierce battle between materialism and idealism. It cannot explain many supernatural phenomena, and has even been simply ignored or flatly denied. The wave-particle duality solves the problem of pure particles and pure waves. Scientists used experiments to capture the simultaneous existence of particles and waves of light. Applying this theory to studying the world after death, physicists claim that this concept can be extended to the body-soul dichotomy theory. The body is a particle, matter, and the soul is a wave, energy, fluctuation. Dr. Hans-Peter Dürr, former head of the Max Planck Institute of Physics in Munich, believes that just as the data of particles are stored in the form of waves, the brain is a tangible disk that can store all the events we have participated in during our lives. These data will be uploaded to the spiritual quantum, soul, realm. By analogy, when the human body, or physical hard drive, disappears, human consciousness, or data in the computer, still exists, granulated into waves. When the next reincarnation occurs, the waves will be reflected again. Properties of particles, matter. Dürr said, the world we know, here and now, is only the comprehensible material level. Beyond this known world, there are infinite real worlds. This means that the world we now exist has long been dead. The future world encompasses and surrounds us. Even if the body dies, the soul still exists in the spiritual quantum realm, therefore, we are immortal. This statement coincides unexpectedly with the consciousness-only theory revealed by Buddhism 2000 years ago. The eighth human consciousness, Alaya consciousness mentioned in Buddhism, is also called the Tibetan consciousness. It is the root of all Dharma, so it is also called the original consciousness. Alaya consciousness is like a large warehouse, which can contain all the seeds and information of good and evil deeds, and the rise and fall of thoughts in life, so it is also called seed consciousness. It contains all things and allows them to exist without being lost. Therefore, the basic theory of cause and effect of Buddhism is established from this: all dharmas are empty, cause and effect are not empty. As the Chinese people say, good will be rewarded with good, evil will be rewarded with evil. Time is the same when you arrive, everything will be rewarded. Because the Alaya consciousness is recorded completely objectively, unintentionally, and no one can deceive the mind. This is so similar to the data stored in the computer mentioned by the scientists above. Alaya consciousness is the most powerful among all human consciousnesses, so it is also called the consciousness master. It is the foundation of everything in the universe. Buddhism calls Alaya consciousness the master and believes that it is relative to the physical body. In other words, that is the truer version of ourselves. To a certain extent, the Alaya consciousness is similar to the soul in Western Christianity, but Buddhism believes that the Alaya consciousness is constantly changing and changing, rather than a permanent and immortal existence. The secular world often believes that everything is over once a person dies. Just like a computer hard drive, if you delete all the data, it will become a blank drive with nothing in it. But in fact, this only suppresses the granular characteristics of the physical object, and its wave characteristics do not disappear, but are hidden. Therefore, even after the files on your computer are completely deleted, they can still be recovered through appropriate means. Because the file is stored on certain sectors of the hard disk and can be displayed, its start and end addresses are recorded in the file allocation table. When deleting a file, only the contents in the file allocation table are deleted, but the sector information of the hard disk does not actually change. The recovery software restores the information in the file allocation table, finds the starting address of the file, and then restores the file and displays it. Therefore, after a person dies, his good and evil deeds, personality habits, and likes and dislikes, karma, do not disappear, but are stored and hidden in the indescribable large sector of Alaya consciousness. When the person is reincarnated again when encountering similar sentient beings, fate and realm encounters, just like the information in the file allocation table is found again, all the past good and evil encounters, love, hate, and emotions will reappear, so that things similar to those in the previous life will often occur. The recurrence and continuation of thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Just as Buddhism points out that the abiding true mind is immortal, Dr. Durr boldly said in the scientific community, "We are immortal." Professor Robert Lanza of Wake Forest School of Medicine in North Carolina, USA also pointed out, death is not the end of life as we think. Biocentric theory believes that death as people know it is actually just an illusion of human consciousness. Although people die, they do not disappear. Life created the universe, which implies that personal consciousness determines the shape and size of objects in the universe. Lanza said that when a person sees the blue sky, his eyes see blue, but the brain cells can change. The transmitted sky color information is changed to green, red or other, and the same sky is another thing in the eyes of individuals with special conditions such as color blindness. Lanza pointed out that death is not an unchanging consciousness that exists in any real sense. Everyone actually understands death in a different version, and the death process of human life is like the four-season cycle of flowers blooming and dying in the multiverse. The magic keeps changing. Starting from the earliest cremation murals 22,000 years ago, humans have never scientifically confirmed where people go after death, but many theological studies have given answers. Physicist Catherine Fritz pointed out in a study that humans may live in the distant future again through quantum resurrection. The main idea of this idea is infinite time, based on the theory of quantum probability that everything is possible. 1. We may appear on Earth in the future as if we never disappeared. Why do you think this physical theory and the afterlife in theology are similar? Physicist Catherine Fritz's quantum resurrection experience theory is also based on Boltzmann's brain theory. An incredible nihilistic self-consciousness can float in space. Boltzmann was one of Austria's greatest modern physical scientists. He proposed, if the known low entropy is a measure of the chaos of the system, state of the universe is derived from the fluctuations of entropy, then there should also be many low-entropy self-awarenesses in the fluctuations, such as lonely brains, observer of the universe. This lonely brain was named the Boltzmann brain. Using this technique we can achieve quantum resurrection. The quantum resurrection proposed by Catherine Fritz can be applied to everyone. For everyone, there is infinite time within the lifespan of the universe. It doesn't sound unfamiliar. Those who have achieved success in reincarnation as revealed in Buddhism, those who have knowledge of destiny, can remember the first 7, 14, and 21st lives, and the highest level arhats can remember it. Things that happened before and after 80,000 great kalpas. This is called the absence of mystery of separation. And the memory of the Tathagata who has perfected Buddhahood and the vision of the Buddha's eyes are even more beginningless and indescribable. As for us ordinary people, we have actually achieved Catherine Fritz's quantum resurrection long ago, and have been in quantum resurrection, reincarnation. We are just ignorant and confused, and have no memory of past lives, or, in other words, due to the staged life and death and due to the mystery of separation, memory data is stored in alaya consciousness and cannot be freely extracted for reference. The Boltzmann brain, which has fascinated and puzzled countless scientists, seems familiar. Just don't think that this low entropy, low chaos, magical brain and observer of the universe is lonely. In case that state is similar to Buddhism, what about the enjoyment of bliss like meditation or nirvana mentioned in the book? The Buddha said in the sutra, Anarata, seeing Jambudvipa is like observing the amara fruit in the palm of your hand. What an incredible state! Observing the vast world of the universe is as comfortable as observing a medicinal fruit in your hand. This state is ordinary people cannot share this, so when the Buddha was born, he pointed to the sky and said, I am the only one in heaven and on earth who is supreme. Perhaps, this loneliness is still an indescribable honor. Conclusion. You won't know until you die.